Welcome to Cloud Security Complete course by Ed Corner Learning. The panorama of modern business has incorporated cloud computing to a significant degree. It enables businesses to use the internet to access computational resources like servers, storage, and apps without spending money on expensive gear and infrastructure. Yet, using cloud computing also presents new security concerns and challenges. Organizations must implement efficient cloud computing security solutions to reduce these dangers. The security of cloud computing refers to the safeguarding of data, applications, and infrastructure. In order to secure cloud-based systems against cyber attacks, data breaches, and unauthorized access, security measures must be put in place. Data security, application security, network security, and physical security are only a few of the aspects covered by cloud computing security. Data security. A crucial component of cloud computing security is data security. It entails safeguarding data against illegal access, modification, and erasure. Several methods, including encryption, access limits, and data backups, can be used to secure data in the cloud. Data is encoded throughout the encryption process so that only authorized individuals with access to the decryption key can decode it. Data can be encrypted both before it is stored in the cloud and during transmission from the cloud to end users. Only individuals with permission to access the data in the cloud can do so thanks to access controls. Many methods, including multi-factor authentication, role-based access controls, and identity and access management software, can be used to create access restrictions. Data backups make it possible to restore lost or stolen data in the event of a cyber attack. Application security. Application security entails defending software against online dangers and weaknesses. With a variety of methods, including code analysis, penetration testing, and secure coding practices, application security in the cloud can be achieved. Code analysis entails checking an application's source code for any potential security flaws. To find application weaknesses, penetration testing simulates cyber attacks. Using coding methods that assist prevent widespread security flaws like SQL injection and cross-site scripting is referred to as adopting secure coding practices. Network security. Protecting the network infrastructure in the cloud against online threats and illegal access is the responsibility of network security. Many methods, including firewalls, intrusion detection and prevention systems, and virtual private networks, can be used to secure networks in the cloud, VPNs. By blocking illegal traffic, firewalls aid in preventing unauthorized access to the network. Systems for detecting and preventing intrusions into a network aid in the identification and prevention of such attacks. Secure connection between users and cloud-based systems is made possible via VPNs. Physical security. Protecting the physical infrastructure of cloud-based systems, such as servers, data centers, and storage facilities, is known as physical security. By a variety of methods, including access controls, video surveillance, and biometric authentication, physical security in the cloud can be established. Only authorized people are able to access physical infrastructure thanks to access controls. Video surveillance aids in keeping an eye out for potential security breaches in physical infrastructure. Using distinctive bodily traits, such as fingerprints, to identify users and guarantee that only authorized personnel has access to physical infrastructure is known as biometric authentication. Finally, cloud computing security is essential to ensuring that cloud-based systems are shielded from online attacks, data breaches, and unauthorized access. Data security, application security, network security, and physical security are only a few of the aspects covered by cloud computing security. Organizations must put in place a variety of security measures, including encryption, access restrictions, firewalls, intrusion detection and prevention systems, and physical security measures to achieve successful cloud computing security. Organizations can guarantee that their cloud-based systems are safe, dependable, and accessible to users by implementing these safeguards. Let's go into more detail about the fundamental elements of security in the context of cloud computing. Confidentiality. The act of keeping information and resources hidden from unauthorized users is known as confidentiality. Confidentiality is crucial in the context of cloud computing to guarantee that data is kept secure and only accessed by authorized users. Many security mechanisms, including secure communication protocols, data encryption, access controls, and safe storage, can be put in place to achieve secrecy in cloud computing. Encryption is one of the crucial methods used in cloud computing to achieve confidentiality. The process of encrypting data involves turning it from plain text into a coded format that can only be viewed by approved people who have the decryption key. Data can be encrypted both before it is stored in the cloud and during transmission from the cloud to end users. Access controls are another crucial tool for maintaining anonymity in cloud computing. Only authorized users will be able to access data and resources in the cloud thanks to access restrictions. Many methods, including multi-factor authentication, role-based access controls, and identity and access management software, can be used to create access restrictions. Another essential component of confidentiality in cloud computing is safe storage. In order to guard against data loss or illegal access, secure storage entails putting security measures in place, such as firewalls, intrusion detection and prevention systems, and backup and recovery procedures. Integrity. In the cloud, data integrity can be achieved via a variety of methods, including cryptographic hashes, digital signatures, and checksums. These methods aid in preserving the integrity and authenticity of the data. Origin integrity is yet another crucial component of integrity in cloud computing. Making sure the data comes from a reliable source and was not altered during transmission is known as origin integrity. Origin integrity can be attained using authentication methods including SSL/TLS protocols, digital certificates, and secure key exchange protocols. Availability is the discipline of making sure that resources and data are available to authorized users when they need them. The user experience is directly impacted by availability in the context of cloud computing. User annoyance, lost productivity, and income loss can all be caused by a lack of availability. In order to ensure availability in cloud computing, techniques like load balancing, redundancy, and disaster recovery must be put in place. To ensure that resources are used effectively and that the system is available even during times of heavy usage, load balancing includes dividing workload among several servers. In order to ensure that data is available even if one server fails, redundancy entails copying data and resources across numerous servers. In order to ensure that data and resources can be retrieved in the case of a catastrophic event, such as a natural disaster or cyber attack, disaster recovery entails installing backup and recovery procedures. Finally, cloud security is an important component of cloud computing. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability are the fundamental building blocks of security in cloud computing. While integrity is making sure that data is correct and unaltered throughout its life cycle, confidentiality entails keeping information and resources hidden from unauthorized users. It is important to make sure that resources and data are always available to authorized users. Cloud service providers must put in place a number of security measures, including encryption, access controls, authentication procedures, load balancing, redundancy, and disaster recovery in order to accomplish these objectives. Cloud providers may make sure that their systems are safe, dependable, and accessible to consumers by putting these precautions in place. Businesses and organizations that rely on cloud computing services have serious concerns about cloud security. Data breaches, financial losses, and reputational harm can all be caused by cyber attacks on cloud-based systems. Understanding the many security assaults that can take place is crucial for comprehending cloud security. Any activity that jeopardizes the confidentiality of information is a security attack. Data breaches, denial of service attacks, and cyber espionage are just a few of the different ways that these attacks might take place. These attacks have a potentially devastating effect that might range from data loss to the total shutdown of crucial systems. Attackers frequently employ disruption, interception, alteration, and falsification techniques to undermine cloud security. Interruption. Attacks that try to interrupt cloud service availability are known as interruption attacks. Malware, viruses, and distributed denial of service, DDoS, attacks are just a few of the ways attackers can disrupt systems. One of the most frequent disruption assaults is a DDoS attack. They include oversaturating a cloud-based system with traffic, which leads to the system's failure or unavailability. By infiltrating cloud-based systems and interfering with their regular operation, malware and viruses can also result in interruption attacks. Attacks that cause service interruptions can have serious repercussions for companies and other organizations that rely on cloud services. These may lead to financial loss, reputational harm, and disruption of vital operations. Businesses and organizations should put in place strong security measures, like firewalls, intrusion detection and prevention systems, and access controls to reduce the danger of interruption attacks. Interception. Attacks that intercept sensitive data being sent over the internet or kept in the cloud are intended to steal it. Attackers can intercept information by employing a variety of strategies, including as sniffing, eavesdropping, and man-in-the-middle assaults. Man-in-the-middle attacks entail listening in on a conversation between two parties by intercepting their communications. Attackers can utilize this method to steal private data, including login passwords and financial information. Without the parties involved being aware, communications can be intercepted by eavesdropping. Attackers may employ this method to obtain sensitive data, including credit card and social security numbers. Sniffing entails intercepting and examining network communication in order to gather private data. Businesses and organizations should employ robust encryption protocols, such as SSL and TLS, to safeguard data in transit to reduce the danger of interception attacks. To make sure that only authorized users have access to sensitive information, they should also install access restrictions and authentication mechanisms, such as multi-factor authentication. Modification. Attacks that change data or information stored in the cloud are their goal. Data manipulation methods used by attackers include phishing, injection assaults, and data tampering. Data tampering entails changing data that is stored in the cloud in order to accomplish evil goals, including changing financial records or changing consumer information. To take advantage of flaws and access sensitive data, malicious code is injected into cloud-based applications during injection attacks. Phishing is the practice of utilizing phony emails or websites to deceive consumers into disclosing sensitive information, such as login passwords. Businesses and organizations should put strong access restrictions and authentication mechanisms in place to reduce the danger of modification attacks. To stop injection attacks, they should also use secure coding techniques like input validation and output encoding. Businesses and organizations should also teach their staff members how to recognize and avoid phishing scams. Fabrication. Attacks that fabricate information try to pass it off as true. Information can be fabricated by attackers using a variety of methods, such as impersonation, forgery, and counterfeiting. Impersonation is the act of claiming to be someone else in order to obtain private data. This method can be used by attackers to masquerade as authorized users and access confidential information. Forgery is the act of fabricating documents or records in order to deceive users. In order to trick consumers, counterfeiting entails making false physical or digital artifacts, such as false identification documents or certificates. The four basic categories of security threats in the context of cloud computing are disclosure, deception, disruption, and usurpation. The confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data and resources stored in the cloud are all at different risk due to different threat classes. Each threat category will be covered in depth in this section. Disclosure threats to disclosure include unlawful access to or exposure of sensitive data kept in the cloud. Threats to disclosure can come in many different ways, including surveillance, data leaks, and illegal data access. Threats to disclose sensitive information, including personally identifiable information, PII, financial data, and intellectual property, aim to undermine its confidentiality. One of the most prevalent types of disclosure dangers is snooping. Snooping is the process of intercepting communications or data that are not meant for the attacker and reading them. Network eavesdropping, man-in-the-middle attacks, packet sniffing, and other techniques can all be used to launch snooping attacks. Businesses and organizations should create robust access controls and authentication mechanisms that can confirm users' identities and prohibit unauthorized access to sensitive information in order to reduce the risk of disclosure risks. Additionally, they must use encryption protocols like SSL/TLS to safeguard the privacy and accuracy of data both in transit and at rest. Deception threats of deception involve the deliberate alteration or manipulation of data and conversations kept in the cloud. Threats of deception can come in many different shapes and sizes, including modification, spoofing, repudiation of origin, and denial of reception. Threats of deceit aim to undermine the reliability and validity of data and communications. One of the most frequent types of deception threats is modification attacks. Data integrity and authenticity can be lost as a result of modification attacks, which include the unauthorized altering of data or communications. Modification attacks can start in a number of ways, including malware, session hijacking, and network sniffing. Another kind of deception threat is spoofing. Attacks known as spoofing entail pretending to be a trustworthy entity, such as a user, device, or network, in order to obtain unauthorized access to information or resources. Many techniques, including IP spoofing, DNS spoofing, and email spoofing, can be used to launch spoofing attacks. Businesses and organizations should deploy robust encryption methods, such as SSL/TLS, that can safeguard the confidentiality, integrity, and authenticity of data and communications in order to reduce the risk of deception threats. Companies should also put in place authentication and access restrictions that can confirm users' identities and stop unauthorized access to sensitive data. Disruption threats of disruption include the deliberate or accidental alteration or destruction of data and resources kept in the cloud. Threats to disruption can come in many different shapes and sizes, including modifications, viruses, DDoS assaults, and natural calamities. Threats to disruption aim to jeopardize the availability of resources and data. One of the most frequent types of disruption threats is modification attacks. Unauthorized changes to data or configurations are known as modification attacks, and they can lead to the loss of data availability and integrity. Malware, ransomware, and data tampering are just a few examples of the different ways modification attacks can start. Another type of disruption danger is DDoS assaults. DDoS assaults entail saturating a cloud service or infrastructure with requests or traffic, which overwhelms its capacity to respond and renders it unavailable or unresponsive. DDoS assaults can be started in a number of ways, including by botnets, infected devices, and criminal actors. Businesses and organizations should establish redundancy and failover measures that assure the availability and resilience of their cloud infrastructure and services in order to reduce the risk of interruption threats. Also, they ought to put in place intrusion detection and prevention systems, IDS/IPS, that can identify and stop unwanted access attempts and suspicious network activity. Usurpation threats from illegal use of resources and data stored in the cloud are known as usurpation threats. Threats of usurpation can come in a variety of shapes and sizes, including alteration, spoofing, delay, and denial of service. Threats of usurpation aim to jeopardize the availability, confidentiality, and integrity of information and resources. One of the most frequent types of usurpation threats is modification attacks. Unauthorized changes to data or configurations are known as modification attacks, and they can lead to the loss of data confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Malware, ransomware, and data tampering are just a few examples of the different ways modification attacks can start. Another type of usurpation threat is spoofing. Attacks known as spoofing entail pretending to be a trustworthy entity, such as a user, device, or network, in order to obtain unauthorized access to information or resources. Many techniques, including IP spoofing, DNS spoofing, and email spoofing, can be used to launch spoofing attacks. Another type of usurpation threat is a delay assault. Attacks on data or communications are intentionally slowed down or delayed, and this can lead to the loss of data availability and integrity. Attacks that cause delays can be started in a number of ways, including bandwidth limiting, routing manipulation, and network congestion. Businesses and organizations should create robust access controls and authentication procedures that can confirm users' identities and prohibit unauthorized access to sensitive information in order to reduce the risk of usurpation threats. They should also use encryption methods, such as SSL, TLS, to safeguard the privacy, accuracy, and legitimacy of data and communications. They should also put in place intrusion detection and prevention systems, IDS, IPS, that can identify and stop unwanted access attempts and shady network traffic. Conclusion: cloud security is a crucial component of cloud computing that companies and organizations that keep sensitive data and resources in the cloud must treat seriously. Security risks can be broken down into a number of categories, including disclosure, deception, disruption, and usurpation, each of which poses a different danger to the privacy, integrity, and accessibility to information and resources. Strong security policies, access restrictions, authentication protocols, encryption protocols, redundancy and failover methods, and intrusion detection and prevention systems must be implemented by enterprises and organizations to reduce the risk of security threats. They can guarantee the security and safety of their data and resources in the cloud by doing this. Policies and mechanisms. In cloud security, what is allowed and what is not allowed in a cloud environment is governed by a set of rules and guidelines called cloud security policies. The security posture of the cloud system is determined by the policies, which form the basis of cloud security. They specify the stakeholder roles and duties, the level of access given to users, and the procedures to be followed to ensure the protection of data and resources. Policies lower the risk of security breaches by ensuring compliance with laws and industry best practices. Security methods enable the enforcement of cloud security policies. The technical measures used to enforce security policies are known as security mechanisms. Access controls, encryption, intrusion detection and prevention systems, firewalls, and other security technologies are some of these mechanisms. Security mechanisms help to reduce the risks brought on by unauthorized access, data breaches, and other security concerns. They also enable the technical enforcement of security regulations. To ensure the security of cloud systems, the construction of cloud security policies is essential. Access control, data protection, and incident response are a few security issues that must be covered in detail by cloud security rules. Moreover, laws must be unambiguous, succinct, and simple to grasp. Very complicated or challenging to follow policies might lead to problems with compliance and increased security threats. It is crucial to make sure that the cloud security policies are not at odds with one another when defining them. Conflicting policies can lead to security flaws that attackers can take advantage of. To keep policies current and applicable to the changing threat landscape, they must be evaluated frequently. Reviews of policies should take into account how the cloud environment has changed, including how new services have been added, how user roles have changed, and how security technology has advanced. A thorough cloud security strategy must include both policies and procedures for cloud security. While mechanisms give the technical means of enforcing such policies, policies specify the rules and principles that apply to the cloud environment. Policies for cloud security must be thorough, understandable, and concise. Conflicting rules should be avoided, and policies should be frequently evaluated to make sure they are still current and appropriate given the changing threat environment. Businesses and organizations may safeguard their data and resources from security threats and guarantee the safety and security of their cloud environment by implementing efficient cloud security rules and methods. Goals of security in cloud computing. A crucial component of cloud computing is security. a shared virtualized infrastructure that is available whenever and wherever is offered by the cloud environment. Because of this, cloud computing is susceptible to a variety of security risks, including application flaws, network attacks, and data breaches. The three major objectives of cloud security measures are prevention, detection, and recovery in order to reduce these risks. Prevention. The main objective of cloud security is to stop attackers from transgressing the system's security policies. By implementing strong security controls and procedures, prevention measures try to halt attacks before they start. Access restrictions, firewalls, intrusion prevention and detection systems, and encryption are some of these security methods. While firewalls and intrusion prevention and detection systems monitor traffic and thwart illegal access attempts, access controls restrict user access to resources. Sensitive data is shielded from access by unauthorized people using encryption. Detection. Although prevention strategies work to thwart assaults, detection strategies look for those that have already occurred. Security monitoring, log analysis, and intrusion detection systems are examples of detection techniques. By identifying security events and alerting security staff, these techniques enable them to take action before any serious harm is done. A security incident's effects can be minimized, and the attacker's goals can be thwarted with the help of effective detection measures. Recovery. Security events can still happen even with effective preventative and detection procedures in place. The goal of recovery steps is to halt the assault, evaluate and fix any damage, and guarantee that the system can continue to operate properly. Disaster recovery methods, incident response plans, and data backups are examples of recovery measures. The steps to be done in the event of a security problem are outlined in incident response plans, and disaster recovery plans and data backups make sure that vital information is available and that the system can be rapidly returned to regular operation. In conclusion, protecting the integrity, confidentiality, and availability of cloud resources depends on achieving the three cloud security goals of prevention, detection, and recovery. By implementing strong security controls and procedures, prevention measures try to halt attacks before they start. Security teams can take action to stop more damage thanks to detection methods that reveal assaults that have already occurred. The goal of recovery steps is to halt the assault, evaluate and fix any damage, and guarantee that the system can continue to operate properly. Businesses and organizations may safeguard their cloud resources from security threats and guarantee the safety and security of their cloud environment by putting in place efficient security measures. Trust and assumptions in cloud security. The foundation of every facet of security in the cloud environment is trust and assumptions. A system or an organization is said to be trusted if one has confidence in its dependability and security. While developing or putting into practice security policies and methods, assumptions are the circumstances or limitations that are taken for granted. Security policies establish what is and is not permitted in a system or network through rules and guidelines. By clearly dividing up system states and accurately identifying security requirements, they are made to defend the system against security threats. Because any ambiguity or inconsistency can lead to vulnerabilities that attackers might exploit, trust in policies is crucial. Policies are predicated on, among other things, that they are clear, comprehensive, and enforceable. Security mechanisms are the instruments and procedures that make a system or network security policy effective. They include firewalls, intrusion detection systems, access controls, encryption, and authentication procedures. It is essential to have faith in security systems because any flaw or failure could jeopardize the system's security. The implementation of mechanisms is presumed to be correct, that they support the laws they are intended to enforce, and that they function as intended. Assumptions and trust go hand in hand since the policies and methods that support a system's security are based on the assumptions that are established. When trust is lost, the system's security is jeopardized, and security events are possible. As a result, it is crucial to validate assumptions, confirm their veracity, and build system confidence through thorough testing and review. The core ideas of trust and assumptions are what all aspects of security in the cloud environment are based on. For the system to be secure, trust in policies and mechanisms is crucial, since any ambiguity or flaw can lead to vulnerabilities that attackers can take advantage of. The system must be rigorously tested and evaluated in order to develop trust in it, and assumptions made about its policies and operations must be confirmed to make sure they are accurate. Businesses and organizations can create efficient security methods to guard their cloud resources from security threats by comprehending the significance of trust and assumptions in cloud security. Several kinds of cloud security mechanisms. The instruments and methods used in a cloud environment to enforce security policies are known as security mechanisms. Security mechanisms come in a variety of forms, and each type has unique capabilities and traits. Secure mechanisms. Secure systems are created to offer high security assurances and thwart attacks on cloud resources. These techniques, which are frequently complicated, may include access controls, firewalls, intrusion detection systems, and encryption. Often, secure mechanisms are built to withstand attacks even when the attackers are aware of the design. Precise mechanisms. Precise mechanisms are intended to accurately enforce security policies. These techniques, which are frequently rule-based, can be used to implement access control regulations or to identify and address security incidents. Although precise systems are frequently simple to set up and use, they could be less capable of spotting sophisticated threats. Broad mechanisms. Wide-ranging security features and safeguards are provided by broad mechanisms. In the cloud context, these approaches can be utilized to secure data, networks, applications, and endpoints. While generally simple to establish and maintain, broad mechanisms may be less successful at offering reliable security guarantees. Set of reachable states. By placing constraints on the system, mechanisms created based on the set of reachable states aim to reduce the number of states that an attacker can access. One way to reduce the number of users who have access to sensitive information is by using access control techniques. These defenses are frequently straightforward and efficient at thwarting attacks, but they could be less adaptable than other defenses. Set of secure states. In order to guarantee that the system is always in a secure state, mechanisms based on the set of secure states are used. These systems are frequently employed to identify security events, respond to them, or stop illegal access to cloud services. These might include firewalls, intrusion detection systems, and other security measures. In the cloud environment, security policies can be enforced through a variety of security approaches. The capability, design, and complexity of these mechanisms differ. Broad mechanisms are intended to provide a wide range of security features and protections, while precise mechanisms are intended to enforce security policies with a high degree of accuracy. Mechanisms based on the set of reachable states are intended to reduce the number of states that an attacker can reach, while mechanisms based on the set of secure states are intended to ensure that the system remains secure. Organizations may select the best security measures to safeguard their cloud resources from security risks by understanding the many sorts of mechanisms that are accessible. The process of confirming that a system or service satisfies its specified security objectives is known as assurance in the context of cloud security. This entails checking that it is implemented properly and assessing and testing the system or service against its security requirements. 3 steps make up the assurance process typically: specification, design, and implementation. Specification: definition of the security goals and requirements for the system or service occurs at the specification stage. Defining the security rules and processes that will be utilized to mitigate these threats, as well as identifying the threats that the system or service is anticipated to face, are all part of this. This stage's objective is to create a precise and unambiguous definition of the functionality and security requirements of the system. Design. The design phase entails coming up with a strategy for how the system will satisfy its security demands. This entails creating the system architecture and infrastructure to enable these methods, as well as choosing the proper security rules and processes to apply. The system should be able to properly enforce its security policies and methods during the design stage. Implementation. Development and deployment of the system or service are steps in the implementation process. This include programming the system software, putting up any necessary security features, and configuring the network architecture. During the implementation phase, you should make sure the system is set up properly and that all security features are operating as intended. Because cloud systems are complicated and distributed, with several components and layers of abstraction, assurance is essential for cloud security. A thorough strategy that takes into account every component of the system, from the hardware and network infrastructure to the software and user interfaces, is necessary to ensure the security of a cloud system. The assurance process aids in making sure that the system satisfies its security goals and that any vulnerabilities or flaws are found and fixed in advance of being used by attackers. Overall, the assurance process offers a mechanism to assess and confirm the efficacy of the security measures in a cloud system. Assurance assists in ensuring that the system is secure and dependable and that it can offer the appropriate protection for sensitive data and resources by testing and validating the system's security rules and methods. Organizations must take a variety of things into account when developing and maintaining security measures, since operational difficulties are crucial to cloud security. Details of a few operational problems with cloud security are provided below. Cost-benefit analysis. In order to decide whether or not to invest in security measures, organizations must perform a cost-benefit analysis. It entails weighing the expense of putting security measures in place against the possible advantages they present. Benefits could include decreased risk of data breaches, more consumer trust, and regulatory compliance, while costs include hardware, software, and staff costs. Based on the prospective advantages and disadvantages, the study aids businesses in setting priorities for their security investments. Risk analysis entails locating and assessing potential threats to the resources and systems of an organization. It aids companies in figuring out the possibility and consequences of a security incident and in creating risk mitigation plans. The following steps are included in risk analysis: determining which assets require protection, recognizing potential dangers to the assets, determining the possibility that the dangers will materialize, assessing how the threats will affect the assets, developing plans to lessen the hazards. Organizations can use risk analysis to make educated judgments about the security measures that should be put in place. Laws and customs. Companies must make sure that their security measures abide by all applicable laws and regulations. Depending on the type of data being processed and the sector in which the business works, different compliance obligations apply. Organizations handling financial data, for instance, must adhere to the PCI DSS, while those handling medical data must adhere to the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA. Legal and financial consequences for breaking the appropriate regulations might be severe. While establishing security measures, businesses must take into account social and cultural norms in addition to legal compliance. For instance, some cultures might not approve of employee activity tracking, which could have an effect on how security measures are put in place. Companies must make sure that their operational procedures do not jeopardize their security precautions. Employees should not discuss passwords or leave them written down in a visible place, for instance, and password restrictions must be strictly followed. Similar to this, security updates and patches should be implemented right away to reduce the risks associated with identified vulnerabilities. Incident response. To properly handle security incidents, organizations must have an incident response plan in place. Procedures for identifying, containing, and resolving security events should be included in the strategy. Plans for communicating with stakeholders about the problem and the steps taken to remedy it should also be included. In a passive attack, the attacker attempts to intercept data being communicated between two communicating parties without changing or interfering with the communication flow. Because the attacker is not actively attempting to interfere with communication or insert any harmful content, this type of assault is known as a passive attack. Instead, they are attempting to overhear or observe the conversation to gather data that might be advantageous to them. In terms of cloud security, there are two different passive assaults that could happen. Release of message contents. In this kind of passive attack, the attacker tries to discover the precise content of the messages that are being sent between the two parties in communication. The attacker might be motivated to acquire sensitive data being transmitted over the cloud network, such as login credentials, credit card information, or any other private information. Cloud security techniques like encryption can be used to thwart such assaults. By utilizing a mathematical technique, encryption transforms plaintext data into an incomprehensible format so that only the intended recipient can read it. In this manner, even if a hacker steals the encrypted data, they won't be able to decrypt it without the right decryption key. Traffic analysis. In this kind of passive attack, the attacker tries to learn more about how the two communicating parties communicate. They can be curious to know the communication host's location and names, how frequently messages are being exchanged, or how long communications are being sent. Cloud security solutions like anonymization methods can be used to stop such attacks. By employing a proxy or encrypting the IP addresses of the connecting hosts, anonymization is the process of obscuring the identity of the communicating parties. In this manner, even if data is intercepted, an attacker will not be able to gather any meaningful information about the conversing parties. Because the communication flow is unaffected and the attacker doesn't leave any signs of their activity, passive attacks are exceedingly challenging to identify. Cloud security tools like intrusion detection systems, IDS, can be used to find such assaults. IDS are software or hardware-based technologies that keep an eye on network traffic for any suspicious activities and sound the alarm if anything out of the ordinary is seen. In a cloud security assault, an attacker actively alters the data stream or fabricates a phony data stream to further their malevolent goals. Active assaults, in contrast to passive ones, include interfering with communication by inserting harmful content or by preventing the communication channel from operating normally. In terms of cloud security, there are 4 types of active attacks that could happen. Masquerade. In this kind of attack, the attacker impersonates another user or entity to obtain unauthorized access to sensitive data or cloud resources. The attacker may impersonate a legitimate user or company using stolen login credentials or by taking advantage of flaws in the cloud architecture. Cloud security methods like multi-factor authentication, MFA, can be used to thwart such assaults. MFA makes it more difficult for attackers to impersonate a valid user by requiring the user to give 2 or more pieces of evidence to confirm their identity, such as a password and a biometric factor. Replay. In this kind of assault, an intruder intercepts a data unit and retransmits it to cause an illegal outcome. To acquire unauthorized access or carry out unauthorized operations, the attacker may replay a previously recorded communication. Cloud security techniques like message authentication codes, MAC, can be used to stop such attacks. By adding a tag or code to the message, the MAC cryptographic approach checks the communication's consistency and authenticity. The MAC will fail if the message is altered while it is being transmitted, proving that it is not genuine. Modification. In this kind of attack, the attacker modifies a piece of a genuine communication in order to accomplish their malevolent goals. The message may be altered by the attacker in order to gain unauthorized access or carry out unauthorized operations. Cloud security tools like digital signatures can be used to thwart such assaults. Using a public key encryption algorithm, digital signatures are a cryptographic method for confirming the veracity and integrity of a message. With their private key, the sender signs the message, and the recipient uses the sender's public key to confirm the signature. The message is regarded as real and undamaged if the signature is legitimate. Denial of service. By flooding the system with traffic or taking advantage of flaws in the cloud infrastructure, a denial of service attacker prevents legitimate users from accessing communication facilities or cloud resources. Cloud security tools like firewalls, intrusion detection systems, and load balancers can be used to stop such attacks. While intrusion detection systems watch network traffic for any unusual activity, firewalls can be used to restrict traffic from known hostile sources. In order to prevent any one server from becoming overloaded, load balancers can evenly divide traffic among several servers. To sum up, active attacks on cloud security entail altering the data stream or fabricating a phony data stream in order to pursue nefarious ends. Message authentication codes, digital signatures, firewalls, intrusion detection systems, load balancers, and other cloud security measures can all be used to thwart such assaults. Using numerous security mechanisms and protocols to safeguard cloud resources and data from unauthorized access, data breaches and cyber attacks constitutes the crucial component of cloud computing known as cloud security. The importance of security in cloud computing cannot be overstated because it offers a number of advantages that are essential for maintaining the availability, confidentiality, and integrity of cloud services and data. The main functions of security in cloud computing are as follows. Confidentiality. A crucial component of cloud security is confidentiality, which involves guarding against the invasion of privacy. Only authorized users are permitted access to confidential information, while unauthorized users are prevented from accessing sensitive data, thanks to confidentiality. Cloud security methods including encryption, access limits, and data masking are used to achieve confidentiality. Integrity. Preventing data corruption or manipulation is another crucial component of integrity in cloud security. Integrity guarantees that data is accurate, reliable, and consistent across the course of its life. Integrity is attained by the use of cloud security mechanisms such data backups, checksums, digital signatures, and data validation checks. Availability. Defending against denial of service, DOS attacks, is a crucial component of cloud security. Availability makes ensuring that authorized users always have access to cloud resources and services. Cloud security techniques including load balancing, redundant servers, and disaster recovery plans are used to achieve availability. Authentication. Identifying authentic users and making sure they have the right credentials to access cloud services and data is the process of authentication. Only authorized users will be able to access cloud services and data thanks to authentication. Cloud security mechanisms including passwords, biometric authentication, and multi-factor authentication, MFA, are used to authenticate users. Authorization. The process of assessing whether a particular user is going to be able to do a certain function is known as authorization. Authorization makes ensuring users have the appropriate access rights and permissions to carry out particular tasks in the cloud environment. Role-based access control, RBAC, and attribute-based access control, ABAC, two types of cloud security solutions, are used to obtain authorization. Non-repudiation. The capacity to track what occurred within the cloud environment and stop action denial is known as non-repudiation. Users cannot deny executing certain operations since non-repudiation assures that all actions within the cloud environment are logged and traceable. Cloud security methods like audit logs and digital signatures are used to achieve non-repudiation. Safety. Ensuring against tampering, damage, and theft is a crucial component of cloud security. Data and resources stored in the cloud are protected from physical risks, including theft, environmental hazards, and destruction. Physical security controls, environmental controls, and disaster recovery plans are just a few examples of the cloud security procedures used to ensure safety. In order to safeguard the cloud network infrastructure against unwanted access, attacks, and data breaches, network security is a vital part of total cloud security. Your question provides a high-level summary of the 6 actions that can be taken to tackle network security in a cloud environment. Determine network security policy. The first stage is to identify the policies, processes, and protocols that will be used to manage the security of the cloud network. Access control, network segmentation, encryption, and authentication procedures should all be part of this policy. Implement network security policy. After the security policy has been established, the cloud network infrastructure must be made aware of it. To enforce the policy, this entails deploying additional security measures, such as setting up VPNs, enabling encryption, and establishing firewalls. Reconnaissance. The following stage in network security is reconnaissance, which entails learning more about the cloud network's possible weaknesses. This may entail locating open ports, depicting the topology of the network, and searching for any potential flaws in the network's construction. Vulnerability scanning. Following the conclusion of the reconnaissance, this stage is carried out. To do this, it is necessary to identify potential vulnerabilities in the cloud network, including out-of-date software, improperly configured firewalls, and unpatched systems, using specific tools and methodologies. Penetration testing. The next stage is to carry out penetration testing after identifying potential vulnerabilities. This entails simulating a cyber attack on the cloud network to evaluate its resilience and spot any holes that attackers might exploit. Post-attack investigation. Lastly, if a cyber attack is successful, the network security team should carry out a post-attack analysis to determine the attack's primary causes and take action to address the problem. This could entail patching systems, updating security guidelines, and enhancing employee security awareness training. The 6 steps listed offer a high-level framework for how businesses might go about securing their cloud network infrastructure. Network security is a crucial component of cloud security. It's important to keep in mind, though, that the particulars of network security can change based on the organization's particular security requirements, risk profile, and cloud architecture. A valuable framework for comprehending the dangers connected with cloud computing and putting in place the necessary security measures to reduce those risks is provided by Gartner's 7 cloud computing security risk factors. These conditions are privileged user access. This risk characteristic describes the possibility that privileged users, like cloud service administrators, can misuse their access privileges to misappropriate or alter sensitive data. Organizations should install stringent access controls and monitoring systems to keep an eye on privileged user activities in order to reduce this risk. Regulatory compliance. When storing or processing data on the cloud, there is a risk that some regulations, such rules governing data privacy, won't be followed. Organizations must make sure that the cloud service providers they use to protect their data are compliant with all applicable laws and regulations in order to reduce this risk. Location of the data. This risk factor relates to the possibility that private information may be handled, processed, or kept in places where data protection regulations are lax, or there is a possibility of government surveillance. In order to reduce this risk, businesses should make sure that the cloud service providers they use are open about where data is processed and stored, as well as how it is protected. Data segregation. This risk indicator relates to the possibility of sensitive data being accessed without authorization if data from several clients is handled or kept in the same physical infrastructure. Organizations should check that the data segregation procedures used by their cloud service providers to separate client data from one another are acceptable in order to reduce this risk. Recovery. In the event of a cloud service outage or disaster, this risk parameter refers to the risk of data loss or unavailability. Organizations should make sure that their cloud service providers have reliable disaster recovery procedures in place, and that they have backup copies of crucial data kept in many places in order to reduce this risk. Support for forensic investigations. In the event of a security issue, this risk parameter relates to the possibility that cloud service providers may not offer sufficient support for forensic investigations. To reduce this risk, businesses should make sure that the cloud service providers they use have proper forensic investigation support systems in place, such as giving investigators access to audit logs and other pertinent data. Long-term viability. This risk factor is concerned with the possibility that a cloud service provider would cease operations or change ownership, which could result in the loss of important data. Organizations should check that the cloud service providers they choose have sufficient financial resources and a track record of long-term survival in order to reduce this risk. In conclusion, Gartner's 7 cloud computing security risk factors offer a helpful framework for comprehending the dangers connected with the technology and putting in place the necessary security measures to reduce those risks. Organizations may make sure that their cloud systems are safe and in compliance with applicable laws by addressing each of these risk factors. The research paper titled, "Hey, You, Get Off of My Cloud: Exploring Information Leakage in Third-Party Compute Clouds" by Thomas Ristenpart, Aaron Tromer, Hovav Shacham, and Stefan Savage, published in the Proceedings of CCS 2009, the paper covers the pioneering work in cloud mapping, a method for locating virtual machines, VMs, physically in a cloud context. To show the potential for information leaking in such settings, the authors launched an assault against Amazon EC2, a commercially available actual cloud. Co-residing, or using the same physical server as the target VM, was a component of the assault. An attacker might be able to acquire private information or even take over the target VM if they are successful to up to 40% of the time, according to the authors. The study underlines the need for improved security measures to guard against attacks and data leaks in cloud environments and highlights the security issues related to cloud computing. The authors propose that users should be aware of the risks and take appropriate precautions to protect their data in the cloud, and that cloud providers should develop better separation methods to prevent co-residence attacks. The research paper stresses the need for enhanced security measures to thwart assaults and information leaks in cloud systems and offers insightful information about the security dangers connected to cloud computing overall. Risks associated with cloud computing are unique and distinct from those associated with traditional IT systems. Security and trust are two important risks. Due to the intrinsic nature of the cloud, where consumers are reliant on their cloud providers for services, trust and dependency are new dangers that exist. It's crucial to build trust between customers and cloud service providers. Clients must have faith in their cloud service providers to protect the confidentiality of their data and maintain the accuracy of their calculations. Cloud service providers must be open and honest about the security measures they have in place and how they handle consumer data. By following industry standards and best practices, providers can gain and keep the trust of their clients. Another risk associated with cloud computing is multi-tenancy. Transparent resource sharing between virtual machines, VMs, is referred to as multi-tenancy. It is a method that cloud providers use to cut costs. It does, however, open the door to potential attacks from other clients who use the same physical resources. Applications from one client that are malicious or susceptible may compromise the security and functionality of applications from other customers. To stop cross-tenant attacks and guarantee that client data is kept separate and secure, adequate isolation methods must be in place. In conclusion, cloud providers must take the appropriate steps to safeguard the security and privacy of client data, since cloud computing introduces new threats that need to be handled. To enable businesses to fully profit from cloud computing, two major risks, trust and multi-tenancy, must be effectively addressed. Cloud service companies use multi-tenancy as a way to optimize resource usage and cut expenses. Using the same physical hardware, multiplexing virtual machines, VMs, from various clients is involved. One physical server, for instance, might be used by a cloud provider to host VMs for many clients. Customers' lack of control over where their virtual machines are located on the physical hardware is one of the problems with multi-tenancy. A customer's virtual machine might be installed on the same server as an adversary's virtual machine. Further hazards are brought on by this lack of control, including side-channel exploitation and weak VM isolation techniques. Secret channels known as side channels allow data to flow between other VMs using the same physical hardware. An attacker might utilize the CPU's data caches to obtain the secret keys used by the other VM, for instance, if two virtual machines, VMs, are running on the same server and one of them is carrying out a cryptographic transaction. This is a significant risk, and cloud service providers must put in place suitable isolation methods to stop such attacks. The susceptibility of the VM isolation techniques is another concern associated with multi-tenancy. An attacker may be able to access additional VMs using the same physical hardware if they are able to break out of their own virtual machine and obtain access to the hypervisor. The cloud environment can be totally compromised as a result of this. Furthermore, multi-tenancy presents additional hazards to cloud computing, and cloud providers must implement the necessary safeguards to reduce these risks. Clients must be aware of the hazards posed by multi-tenancy and select cloud service providers who have adequate isolation safeguards in place to safeguard their data and applications. Security researchers utilize an attack model as a framework to comprehend and evaluate potential system dangers. An attack model is a set of presumptions and techniques used to simulate attacks on cloud systems in the context of cloud computing. An attack model is used to investigate the viability of carrying out actual attacks in current cloud systems. Cross-VM assaults are one type of attack in cloud computing. A malicious VM is installed on the same physical machine as the target customer's VM in cross-VM attacks. The attacker then uses side-channel techniques to try and extract private data from the target VM. To extract cryptographic keys or other sensitive data from the target VM, for instance, an attacker could use flaws in the hypervisor or CPU's data caches. Researchers could set up trials utilizing legitimate AWS cloud service providers like Amazon EC2 to evaluate the viability of such attacks. In this concept, the two phases of the attack are placement and extraction. The attacker makes plans to install their malicious VM on the same physical machine as the intended victim during the placement stage. The attacker uses side-channel assaults in the extraction process to try and collect sensitive data from the target VM. Researchers can evaluate the efficiency of current security methods in defending cloud systems against attacks by utilizing an attack model. This can assist cloud service providers in strengthening their security procedures and reducing any threats to the information and applications of their clients. Identifying, analyzing, and prioritizing potential threats and vulnerabilities to a system or organization is done using a threat model, which is a conceptual framework. A threat model is useful in the context of cloud computing for identifying potential security risks and creating mitigation plans. The circumstances in which the system is anticipated to function are referred to as the threat model's assumptions. For instance, the threat model can presuppose that the infrastructure and cloud provider are trustworthy, but that the customers using the cloud to execute applications that require confidentiality are not. This indicates that rather than the provider or administrators, the threat model concentrates on malevolent third parties with no affiliation to the provider as potential attackers. The threat model may also define restrictions, such as not taking into account assaults that depend on compromising administrator privileges or taking advantage of flaws in the virtual machine monitor or other software. This enables a more in-depth examination of the potential risks that are exclusive to the cloud environment. The threat model, when applied to the attack model previously outlined, presupposes that the adversary is an unaffiliated, malevolent third party aiming to obtain private information from customers using confidentiality-requiring cloud services. Instead, then depending on conventional assault techniques, the emphasis is on the attacker's new cloud-related skills and increasing the attack surface. The threat model takes the cloud provider and infrastructure as trusted entities and does not take into account attacks that depend on disabling administrator privileges or taking advantage of flaws in the virtual machine monitor or other applications. These inquiries concern safeguarding cloud infrastructure and avoiding potential security risks. Can one locate an instance's location within the cloud infrastructure? In the cloud infrastructure, an instance's precise location must be known for security purposes. It aids in guarding against unwanted access, spotting intrusions, and keeping track of system activity. In general, tools and APIs are offered by cloud providers for finding and controlling instances. If two instances are co-resident on the same physical machine, is that easily discernible? Co-residency poses a serious risk to the cloud infrastructure's security. Cross-VM information leakage can be used by an attacker to run an instance that co-resides with a target instance and steal confidential information. Co-residency is difficult to identify. However, cloud providers can use isolation strategies, such physical separation, to lower the danger of co-residency. Can a foe launch instances that will coexist with those of other users? The correct answer is that an attacker might attempt to launch instances so that they coexist with a target instance. To obtain co-residency, they can employ a variety of placement techniques and side-channel attacks. To stop such attacks, cloud providers should set up strict access rules, keep an eye on system activities, and utilize intrusion detection systems. Once a co-resident, can an attacker use cross-VM information leakage? Co-residency can result in cross-VM information leakage, which can be used to steal confidential information. An attacker can utilize side-channel assaults to obtain private data from a co-resident instance, such as encryption keys. To stop cross-VM information leaking, cloud providers might employ isolation measures like specialized physical hardware or virtualization. To protect sensitive data, they can also use access controls and encryption. Elastic Compute Cloud, or Amazon EC2, is a cloud computing service that offers scalable, pay-as-you-go computational power. Clients can use virtual machines to run various operating systems. Customers have 3 degrees of freedom with Amazon EC2: instance type, region, and availability zone. Amazon EC2 offers several computing solutions, often known as instances. The 32-bit M1.small and C1 medium instances, as well as the 64-bit M1.large, M1.large, and C1.large instances, are among those that are readily available. The capacity of the processor, memory, storage, and networking varies depending on the instance type. Customers can deploy their instances in a variety of regions thanks to Amazon EC2. US, EU, and Asia are the regions that are accessible. Each region has its own power source and network link in order to maintain its isolation from the others. Then, regions are divided into availability zones, which are distinctive, physically distinct infrastructures connected by low-latency networks. Based on the instance, region, and availability zone selections made by the customers, Amazon Web Services provides the well-known infrastructure as a service IaaS cloud computing platform known as Amazon EC2 AWS. The platform manages virtual machines, VMs, or instances using the Xen hypervisor. The domain DOM0 virtual machine, which controls access and manages guest images, is the most privileged machine in the EC2 architecture. Moreover, DOM0 is set up to route packets for its guest images, and in tracer routes, it self-identifies as a hop. On EC2, a single physical machine is designated as the instance's permanent home when it is launched. Each instance is given a domain name, an internal and external IP address, and both. The internal IP address is a private address based on the RFC 1918 standard, whereas the external IP address is a public IPv4 address. Both domain names within the cloud resolve to the internal IP address, whilst the external name is mapped to the external IP address outside the cloud. For instances, the Amazon EC2 service provides physical resources such virtual CPUs, memory, and storage. Customers can easily construct and deploy instances, scale them up or down as needed, and only pay for the resources they really use thanks to this. In order to better understand where possible targets are located in the cloud, a technology called cloud cartography is utilized to map the infrastructure of cloud service providers. It is used to locate instances in the cloud in the context of Amazon EC2 so that co-residency attacks can be launched. Although Amazon EC2 does not reveal the location of its instances, researchers can learn about possible targets' likely locations by mapping the EC2 service. In order to try to create co-residence of an antagonistic instance, this entails figuring out the instance formation parameters necessary. The idea is that various instance types and availability zones correlate to various IP address ranges. Researchers can locate the IP address ranges connected to various availability zones and instance kinds by mapping the EC2 service. With this knowledge, prospective co-residency attack targets can be found, and the design of the cloud infrastructure can be better understood. It is crucial to remember that cloud cartography is a tool used by researchers to better understand the cloud infrastructure and potential security vulnerabilities rather than a harmful tactic. Network probing in the cloud is the process of actively testing a cloud service provider's network architecture to find weaknesses or potential attack points. Network probing is a crucial part of cloud security because it identifies and eliminates possible threats before attackers can use them. Using various scanning tools and methods, network probing often involves learning about the network's infrastructure, such as IP addresses, open ports, and service configurations. The cloud infrastructure's possible vulnerabilities or weak points, such as improperly set firewalls, unpatched software, or shoddy authentication procedures, can then be determined using this information. Ensuring that the testing is done in a controlled and ethical manner is a crucial factor to take into account while doing network probing in the cloud. In order to do this, you must receive the necessary permission from the cloud service provider and make sure that the testing won't interfere with regular business operations or affect the cloud infrastructure or other users. Ensuring that the testing is thorough and covers all potential attack routes is another crucial feature of network probing in the cloud. This may entail doing tests at several network stack layers, such as the application, transport, and network layers, as well as looking for widespread security flaws in cloud-specific technologies like virtualization and containerization. Overall, network probing is a crucial component of cloud security and can help to uncover potential vulnerabilities and flaws in the cloud architecture before they can be exploited by attackers. To reduce the danger of damaging the cloud infrastructure or other users, it is crucial to carry out this testing in a controlled and ethical manner. The following are 2 instances of network probing in relation to Amazon EC2. Attackers can use port scanning to find out which services are active on an EC2 instance. The attacker can find out if any ports are open and potentially susceptible by scanning a variety of ports. For instance, if the attacker learns that SSH port 22 is available, they can use a brute force assault to try and log in and access the instance. Using DNS enumeration, an attacker can discover details about the target EC2 instance. The attacker can get the host name, internal IP address, and other details about the instance by requesting the DNS server. The instance can then be targeted with other assaults using this information. A research project called Survey Public Servers on EC2 sought to find security flaws in public servers hosted on Amazon EC2. In order to find the open ports and services that are being used by EC2 instances and to identify potential security threats, the project involved scanning the public IP addresses of EC2 instances. The researchers discovered that many EC2 instances were running antiquated and susceptible technologies, such as outdated web servers and operating systems. Due to this, the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the data stored on such instances might potentially be compromised, and they became vulnerable to known exploits and attacks. The survey also found that a large number of EC2 instances were using Telnet and FTP, which were insecure protocols and ideal targets for brute force assaults and data eavesdropping. The researchers emphasized the significance of properly safeguarding public servers housed on EC2, such as scheduling software updates, setting up firewalls, utilizing strong authentication techniques, and keeping an eye out for unusual activities. They also suggested that Amazon offer its users improved security-related tools and instructions. The qualities or attributes of an instance that influence where it will be deployed or positioned within the cloud architecture are referred to as instance placement parameters in Amazon EC2. The following are some typical EC2 instance placement parameters. A logical data center located within a region and segregated from other logical data centers is known as an availability zone, AZ. To provide high availability and fault tolerance, instances can be put in a certain AZ. Clients have the option of choosing their own AZ or letting AWS choose it for them when placing instances. A range of instance types with varied CPU, memory, storage, and network capacities are available with EC2. Certain use cases, like as compute-intensive workloads, memory-intensive workloads, or storage-intensive workloads, are optimized for distinct instance types. Clients can choose the instance type that best suits the needs of their applications. Shared and dedicated tenancy are both supported by EC2. A physical server can support many instances from various customers while it is under shared tenancy. However, under dedicated tenancy, an instance is only used by one client and is not shared with any other customers. The tenancy model that best satisfies a customer's security and compliance needs is available for selection. Placement groups. Within a single AZ, a placement group is a logical collection of instances. A placement group places instances adjacent to one another, which can lower latency and increase throughput on the network. Users can select the placement strategy for their instances, such as cluster or spread, and form placement groups. Customers may improve the performance, availability, security, and cost of their EC2 instances by being aware of and in control of certain instance placement characteristics. A key component of guaranteeing the security of cloud computing systems is the use of efficient co-residency checks. One important step in identifying potential security issues is to determine whether a virtual machine, VM, is running on the same physical host as another VM. This is known as a co-residency check. There are two main stages that must be taken to conduct a successful co-residency check. Comparing internal IP addresses is the first step in order to determine whether the internal IP addresses of the two VMs are similar. The likelihood of the VMs becoming co-resident increases if the IP addresses are in the same range. Network probing methods, such as sending ICMP packets or running a TCP/SYN traceroute, might be used for this phase. TCP/SYN traceroute. If the IP addresses are close, the next step is to execute a TCP/SYN traceroute to an open port on the target VM and determine if there is only a single hop to the DOM0 IP. This process requires establishing a partial TCP connection with the target VM by delivering, at most, 2 TCP/SYN packets to it. The attacker can ascertain whether the target VM is a co-resident of their own VM by examining the responses. All things considered, the co-residency check is an important component of cloud security, and doing a thorough examination can assist in identifying potential security risks in the cloud computing environment. Attackers can employ a variety of tactics in cloud settings like Amazon EC2 to make target instances co-residents, enabling them to carry out side-channel assaults and steal sensitive data from their targets. Two popular tactics are using many probe instances over a lengthy period of time to see how many targets one can co-reside with is known as brute force placement. In an effort to have as many instances co-resident with the target set as feasible, the attacker launches a large number of instances. The probe instance executes a wget on port 80 to verify that the target is still serving web pages as part of a co-residency check. The probe instance then determines whether the target instance's internal IP address and its own are close by, comparing them. If so, the probe instance does a TCP/SYN traceroute to a target port that is open to determine if there is only a single hop, DOM0 IP. This very silent check doesn't create a full TCP connection and just calls for the transmission of 2 TCP/SYN packets at most. Even with a crude approach, the brute force probes can successfully acquire co-residence against a sizable portion of targets. Target recently launched instances. This tactic makes use of EC2's propensity to place new instances on a select few machines. In order to launch a new instance in the same availability zone as the target instance, the attacker watches the EC2 infrastructure. After that, the attacker begins an instance in the same availability zone as the victim and requests the same instance type. The likelihood of obtaining co-residence with the target instance rises as a result. This procedure can be repeated several times by the assailant to improve the possibility of co-residence. To maximize the potential for side-channel attacks, both tactics aim to co-reside with as many target instances as they can. The detection and mitigation of these threats depend on efficient co-residency checks. Security issues in cloud computing co-tenancy. While using cloud computing, many clients frequently share the same physical infrastructure, which, if not appropriately segregated, increases the danger of data leakage or illegal access. To avoid unwanted access by other tenants, cloud providers should put in place strict access controls, network segmentation, and other safeguards. Loss of control over applications and data that are outsourced. Using cloud services is essentially outsourcing data and apps to a third-party supplier for businesses. As a result, there is a chance that data could be lost, stolen, or exposed if the cloud provider doesn't have sufficient security measures in place or has a breach. Clients should carefully assess the security measures taken by cloud providers and confirm that they have the necessary contracts and service-level agreements in place to safeguard their data. Cloud users' typical worries. Insufficient policies and practices. Customers may not be accustomed to the security practices and rules utilized by cloud providers, or there may be no explicit policies at all. This may cause misunderstandings or confusion over who is in charge of what security-related duties. Inadequate security measures. Customers may not be aware of the security measures that are available, or cloud providers may not have appropriate security measures in place to protect client data. Consumers should carefully assess the security capabilities of cloud providers and request documentation of compliance with industry standards and best practices. Customers utilize cloud services to benefit their customers. Cloud customers frequently use cloud services to store and handle confidential data on behalf of their customers. As a result, it becomes your obligation to keep that data safe against theft, exposure, and unwanted access. Clients should carefully assess the security capabilities of cloud providers and confirm that they have the necessary contracts and service-level agreements in place to protect the data of their clients. Relationships based on trust are essential for cloud computing because users must have faith that their data and applications will be safe and accessible when they need them. Additionally, service providers must have faith that their clients will utilize their products and services lawfully and without malice. Building trust requires open lines of communication, honesty, and responsibility on both sides. Good to both stakeholders. Cloud computing can give several benefits to both clients and providers, such as cost savings, scalability, and flexibility. These advantages must be weighed against the dangers of data theft, loss, or disclosure. It is the obligation of both users and service providers to guarantee the security and privacy of cloud services. Let's discuss cloud-based collaboration in the context of software-as-a-service cloud offerings. It involves the use of APIs, application programming interfaces, for sharing data between different users, applications, and organizations' domains. The service provider in this case is the software-as-a-service cloud vendor. Software-as-a-service cloud-centric collaboration is considered valuable and essential for many organizations, as it enables easy sharing of data and a collaborative approach to problem-solving. However, there are also common concerns related to the integrity of data shared across multiple users, which may be compromised if proper security measures are not in place. This is an important consideration for software-as-a-service cloud vendors and their customers, as they need to ensure that data shared through their services is properly protected. Choosing an ideal software-as-a-service cloud vendor can also be a challenge, as there are many resources and pieces of information to consider. Customers should evaluate the vendor's track record for security and data protection, as well as the features and functionality of their collaboration APIs. Additionally, it's important to consider factors such as pricing, support, and scalability when choosing a software-as-a-service cloud vendor for collaboration. In summary, software-as-a-service cloud-based collaboration involves the use of APIs for data sharing, which can be valuable but also poses potential security risks. it's important for customers to choose a reliable vendor with strong security measures in place and to follow best practices for data protection when collaborating through cloud-based services. Let's talk about further aspects of cloud-based collaboration in the context of cloud services that provide software as a service. It focuses particularly on the many forms of collaboration in multi-domain cloud systems and the difficulties in protecting loosely coupled collaborations in cloud environments. The two types of collaboration in multi-domain cloud systems are mentioned in the first bullet point: tightly coupled and federated collaborations and loosely coupled collaborations. Whereas loosely coupled collaborations are more adaptable and permit greater freedom between the participating domains or clouds, tightly coupled collaborations include tighter integration between the participating domains or clouds. The second argument talks about how difficult it is to protect loosely connected collaborations in cloud systems. While known security measures exist for systems that are tightly connected, it's possible that these measures are insufficient to protect loosely coupled partnerships. This is because more independent and autonomous domains are involved in loosely coupled partnerships, which can make it challenging to develop and implement uniform security principles among all participants. The limitations of the current authentication and authorization techniques in cloud environments are highlighted in the third point. The dynamic and widespread nature of loosely coupled collaborations may not be supported by these systems, which could lead to security flaws. In order to solve the particular security issues posed by cloud-based collaboration, new security procedures and protocols are therefore required. In general, protecting cloud-based collaborations, especially in loosely coupled contexts, necessitates an in-depth comprehension of the specific security difficulties involved and the creation of specialized security methods and protocols to meet them. CEL-CSP is a methodology for assessing and choosing CSPs based on their dependability and skill. Competence relates to the CSP's capacity to deliver high-quality services and support, whereas trustworthiness refers to the CSP's capacity to deliver secure and reliable services. The CEL-CSP methodology entails a number of processes, including identifying the requirements for the collaboration services required, determining the risks associated with utilizing a specific CSP, and analyzing the CSP's capacity to satisfy the requirements and reduce the risks. The CEL-CSP framework assesses the CSP's security and privacy policies, certifications, and compliance with pertinent laws and standards in order to determine how trustworthy it is. The framework also evaluates the CSP's standing and prior performance with regard to security events and breaches. The CEL-CSP framework analyses the CSP's technical skills, performance, and service quality to determine its competence. This entails assessing the CSP's support services, infrastructure, and capacity to adhere to service-level agreements. In general, enterprises use the CEL-CSP architecture to choose a CSP that can offer dependable and secure collaborative services in the cloud. The framework assists in reducing the risks related to cloud-based collaboration and ensures that enterprises can achieve their collaboration needs while keeping the security and privacy of their data by assessing the CSP's dependability and expertise. Now we explore issues related with handling access requests to local resources in the cloud, particularly for anonymous users. Anonymous users may request access to local resources in the cloud after choosing a cloud service provider, CSP. Giving access to sensitive information to people who have not been authenticated or identified or who are anonymous carries a higher risk. As a result, controlling requests for access to local resources becomes a crucial part of cloud security. Limiting the amount of information exchange that occurs within the cloud is crucial to lowering access risk and security uncertainty. This means that access to local resources should be limited to those who are authorized and who have successfully authenticated and identified themselves. Moreover, the idea of domains is mentioned, which describes various organizational or administrative entities within the cloud. For instance, a business might use different domains in the same cloud environment. It might be difficult to manage access requests between various domains because each domain might have its own set of security rules and access restrictions. Generally, one of the most important aspects of cloud security is controlling access requests for local resources. Organizations can lessen the risks associated with allowing access to anonymous users and guarantee the security of their data in the cloud by adopting appropriate access controls and restricting information sharing. Methods used in a shared cloud environment to guarantee secure access to local resources. Let's talk about how to build up rights for anonymous users depending on their reputation and local object security level using a fuzzy inference system that tracks requests. By allowing permitted access to users in accordance with their level of authority, request type, and reputation, the system seeks to lower access risk and security uncertainty. This procedure is compared to accessing various locations at a bank depending on the nature of the transaction or request. Based on the requesting role and the permitted actions for various object kinds, access roles are chosen. Access policies can be placed on the objects depending on their reputation, and just a subset of the requested permissions may be granted based on the user's reputation. In order to reduce access risk and security uncertainty, this highlights the significance of access control techniques in a collaborative cloud environment. One such system that may monitor requests and provide access to anonymous users based on their standing and the level of local object security is the fuzzy inference system. Only a fraction of requested permissions may be granted based on the reputation of the user, and access policies can be defined on objects based on their reputation. Challenges associated in mapping roles between different businesses in a collaborative cloud environment and the requirement to minimize access privileges to ensure data security. One of the main goals is to provide a heuristic or algorithm that may address the domain role mapping (IDRM) problem, which entails assigning user responsibilities across many organizations in a way that minimizes the giving of unnecessary rights. This is crucial to lowering the security risks connected to access control, as having too many permissions can result in illegal access to private data. A distributed, secure, collaborative framework that employs local knowledge to dynamically discover and eliminate excess conflicts is required to solve this problem. This is essential in a cloud-based collaborative environment where numerous users from various organizations have access to the same resources. To guarantee that only authorized users have access to the required resources, the framework should be able to recognize potential conflicts and eliminate them in real time. Overall, these considerations highlight the significance of access control in a collaborative cloud environment and the need to put policies in place to make sure users only receive the necessary permissions. This can be accomplished by implementing a secure, distributed collaborative framework that can detect and resolve excess conflicts in real time, as well as heuristics or algorithms that can address the domain role mapping problem. The issues raised are associated with the difficulties in guaranteeing cloud security in a team-based setting where numerous enterprises are participating. Developing a heuristic to assist in resolving the domain role mapping problem and ensuring that only the bare minimum of access privileges are allowed is one of the problems. This issue appears when a user tries to use a collaborative cloud environment to access data from another company. To guarantee that the user has the required permissions to access the data in such circumstances, their job inside their own organization must be mapped to a comparable role within the other company. Creating a distributed, secure framework for collaboration that only uses local data to dynamically identify and eliminate unnecessary conflicts is another difficulty. A user may not be able to carry all the essential credentials and information with them in a collaborative setting, in which case they may need to rely on nearby resources and information to maintain the highest level of security. Thus, there should be a mechanism or strategy that allows users to map their credentials and access permissions to the local resources available in the collaborative environment. The user's session activating several roles and the potential for access conflicts brought on by the creation of cyclic cycles. As a result, If there is a cycle of generation, access conflicts may occur, and certain documents can become inaccessible because of the user's specific function inside a given organization. For this reason, it is essential to have a mechanism that can recognize such conflicts and quickly resolve them in the collaborative cloud environment. A security-focused framework created for multi-cloud systems is called CEL-CSP. By applying security measures at several levels, the framework strives to create a secure and dependable architecture for cloud computing services. This covers security measures for cloud service providers' infrastructure, platform, and software services, CSPs. The security module, the policy engine, the audit module, and the notification module are the four main parts of the CEL-CSP framework. Each element of the security architecture has a distinct responsibility. The security module is in charge of putting security controls in place at every level of the cloud architecture. This entails putting in place access controls, network security measures, and protecting data while it's in transit and at rest. A secure interface for user authentication and authorization is also provided by the security module. The cloud infrastructure's security policies must be enforced via the policy engine. Policies may be established in accordance with a company's particular security needs or with requirements for regulatory compliance. The infrastructure, platform, and software services offered by CSPs are only a few examples of the different levels at which the policy engine can put policies into practice. In order to make sure that security regulations are being followed and the infrastructure is secure, the audit module is in charge of auditing the cloud infrastructure. The audit module can produce reports and alarms based on predefined criteria, giving security administrators useful data. When there are security lapses or policy violations, the notification module is in charge of sending security administrators immediate alerts. Administrators are then able to act right away to reduce the risks and stop future harm. For businesses adopting multi-cloud settings, the CEL-CSP architecture offers a number of advantages. First off, independent of the CSP, the framework offers a consistent approach to security for all cloud services. As a result, businesses may apply standardized security measures throughout their whole cloud architecture. Second, the architecture is made to be scalable, enabling businesses to quickly expand their infrastructure with additional cloud services without sacrificing security. The framework is easily adaptable to the unique security demands of a business, guaranteeing that security measures are always personalized to those needs. Lastly, the framework is made to be adaptable, enabling businesses to change CSPs or cloud services without jeopardizing security. This means that enterprises can take use of the benefits of numerous cloud services without being tied to a specific CSP. Last but not least, the CEL-CSP framework is made to be simple to use. It has a user-friendly interface that enables administrators to set security policies and audit reports with ease. It is also simple for enterprises to incorporate the framework into their current security infrastructure because it is made to be interoperable with existing security tools and technologies. In conclusion, the CEL-CSP framework is a thorough security architecture created for situations with many clouds. It is scalable, versatile, and user-friendly while offering a single approach to security across all cloud services. Organizations can take use of the advantages of cloud computing services while also ensuring the security and dependability of their cloud infrastructure by putting the CEL-CSP framework into practice. Access control that balances access risk and security uncertainty brought on by information sharing is known as risk-based access control, RAC. If the risk of giving access is lower than a predetermined threshold, RAC permits people to access resources even if they might not have the necessary authorizations. The classic access control approaches, such as mandatory access control, MAC, and discretionary access control, DAC, which permit access based on a subject's security clearance or explicit consent, respectively, are in opposition to this. Comparing traditional binary MLS, multi-level security approaches to RAC's more flexible access control rules is one of its main objectives. Risk-based access control, RAC, enables more complex access control choices by taking into account risk in addition to clearance or permission. For instance, RAC may permit a person to use a resource with a higher clearance level if the risk involved is deemed tolerable. Implementing RAC, however, presents a number of difficulties. One challenge is the computation of security uncertainty, which refers to the level of risk involved with allowing access to a subject who lacks sufficient rights. In order to make educated decisions concerning access control, this uncertainty must be measured, but it is not always obvious how to do so. The authorization procedure in the current RAC systems presents another difficulty. In RAC, decision-makers often base authorizations on a risk threshold and an operational requirement. Unfortunately, the operational necessity is frequently poorly assessed, leading to the rejection of numerous requests that may have maximized information sharing. Researchers have suggested a number of RAC model extensions to solve these issues. Using machine learning techniques, for instance, has been suggested as a way to better quantify security uncertainty and guide access control decisions. Some have suggested utilizing a finer-grained approach to risk assessment that considers the context of the access request, such as the sensitivity of the resource being accessed or the identity of the subject making the request. Ultimately, RAC is a crucial method of access control for cloud security that provides more nuance and flexibility than conventional methods. To fully exploit the potential advantages of this strategy, it is crucial to address the issues related to RAC implementation, such as calculating security uncertainty and estimating operational need. A cloud security strategy known as a distributed framework employing fuzzy inference system employs fuzzy logic to evaluate and control security threats in a distributed setting. In contrast to classical logic, which deals with precise reasoning, fuzzy logic is a mathematical framework that deals with reasoning that is approximate or uncertain. Fuzzy logic is used by the fuzzy inference system to decide what to do and take actions based on incomplete or ambiguous data. In a cloud environment with numerous cloud providers, devices, and applications, the distributed architecture employing fuzzy inference system can aid in managing security threats. By determining whether to provide access or not, after evaluating the risk involved with each request, the framework seeks to increase security. The decision-making engine, risk assessment engine, and policy engine are only a few of the parts that make up the framework. The risk assessment engine evaluates each request's risk based on a number of variables, including the user's identification, the request for access, the location of the device, and other contextual data. The policy engine determines if the request complies with the organization's defined security policies. The decision-making engine then decides whether to give access or not, depending on the risk assessment and policy compliance. False positives and false negatives are issues with traditional access control systems that can be addressed with fuzzy, logic-based decision-making. By taking into account various elements and assigning degrees of membership to each factor based on the level of uncertainty or imprecision connected with it, the fuzzy inference system can increase the accuracy of decision-making. By enabling dynamic policy updates based on shifting risk tolerance and security demands, the distributed framework using fuzzy inference system can also aid in enhancing flexibility and scalability in a cloud context. Also, the system is adaptable to various cloud settings, including public, private, and hybrid clouds. The difficulty of creating and implementing the system, however, is one of the difficulties in integrating a distributed framework with fuzzy inference. A full grasp of the underlying security threats, policy requirements, and decision-making procedures is necessary for the system. Also, the system might need a lot of processing power to execute real-time risk analysis and decision-making processes. In conclusion, a distributed framework with fuzzy inference is a cloud security strategy that can assist in reducing security risks in a distributed setting by utilizing fuzzy, logic-based decision-making techniques. The system tries to address some of the issues with conventional access control systems while enhancing decision-making accuracy, flexibility, and scalability. Nevertheless, putting the system into place might need a lot of money, as well as knowledge in security risk management and fuzzy logic-based decision-making. The issue of interdomain role mapping, IDRM, which affects cloud security, is translating users' positions in one organization to comparable roles in another. The objective is to determine the smallest possible set of roles that include the specified permission set while granting the user the fewest possible additional permissions. There is no polynomial time solution in IDRM, which makes it challenging and time-consuming to discover an ideal solution. As a result, greedy search-based heuristics are frequently used to address IDRM, even though they may not always offer the optimum answer. The possibility of several minimal role sets, or the absence of a role set that perfectly matches all rights, is another difficulty for IDRM. IDRM safety and IDRM availability are two IDRM variations that have been suggested as solutions to these problems. The goal of IDRM is to develop a fresh heuristic that produces better answers to the availability issue associated with IDRM. This entails giving the user as little extra rights as possible while still granting them access to the relevant resources. Overall, IDRM is a significant issue in cloud security since it allows businesses to safely collaborate and share resources. IDRM assists in ensuring that users are only given the permissions they require to carry out their responsibilities, reducing the risk of unauthorized access or data breaches. It does this by identifying a minimal set of roles that contain the necessary permission set. As it governs how access to resources is allowed, depending on the responsibilities of people and organizations working in a collaborative system, distributed role mapping is a crucial issue in cloud security. In a distributed role mapping system, users' responsibilities are mapped to the roles of the other participating organizations, and access is given in accordance with the permissions given to those roles. To ensure that private information is not compromised and that users have access to exactly what they require, this process must be carried out securely. Finding a small enough collection of roles to cover the required permission set is the key problem in distributed role mapping. It takes a lot of searching to find the best solution to this complex situation. Moreover, there might be several minimal role sets, and there might not be a role set that precisely translates all permissions. Researchers have put forth a number of heuristic-based algorithms that produce less than ideal solutions to solve these problems. The interdomain role mapping, IDRM algorithm, is one such method that seeks to identify the smallest set of roles that can include the specified permission set. The greedy search-based heuristic used by the IDRM algorithm minimizes the amount of new rights given to users. The algorithm translates the responsibilities played by the people and organizations contributing to the collaboration to comparable ones in other organizations. The IDRM algorithm is provided in two variants, IDRM safety and IDRM availability. The IDRM safety variation aims to reduce the possibility of unwanted access to confidential information. This is accomplished by limiting access to users who are authorized to access the data. Users are not given excessive permissions, which can result in data breaches, according to the IDRM safety algorithm. The IDRM availability variation, on the other hand, aims to increase data availability while lowering the danger of illegal access. This variation guarantees that users have access to the information they need to complete their duties and takes into account the operational requirements of the businesses involved in the cooperation. The role mapping produced by the IDRM availability algorithm maximizes information exchange while lowering the danger of data breaches. A fuzzy inference system can be used in a distributed role mapping framework to map roles amongst cooperating entities. An artificial intelligence that employs fuzzy logic in its decision-making is known as a fuzzy inference system. A mathematical strategy for dealing with ambiguity and imprecision is fuzzy logic. A fuzzy inference system maps the input data to a collection of fuzzy rules, which are then applied to the input data to produce judgments. When there is a lot of ambiguity and imprecision, like in distributed role mapping, fuzzy inference systems are extremely helpful. A risk-based access control, RAC system, which balances access risk and security uncertainty brought on by information sharing, may also be included in the distributed role mapping architecture. In comparison to binary multi-level security, MLS systems, the RAC system is more adaptable because it permits access to subjects even if they do not have the necessary permissions. The RAC system, however, faces its own difficulties, such as the requirement to calculate security uncertainty and the absence of operational need quantification. The RAC system must also balance the requirement for information sharing with the necessity for security, and ignore numerous requests that potentially maximize information exchange. Finally, a distributed role mapping system is essential for safe cloud collaboration. It entails mapping responsibilities between the entities taking part in the cooperation and identifying a minimal set of roles that cover the requested permission set. To accomplish this, heuristic-based methods can be utilized, such as the IDRM algorithm. The framework can also combine risk-based access control systems and fuzzy inference systems to increase its effectiveness and adaptability. In conclusion, a solid distributed role mapping system is necessary for safe cloud collaboration. Conflict detection is a key component of cloud security that helps to protect resources and stop unwanted access. Conflict detection involves spotting instances of security policy violations, such as conflicts involving the separation of duties, SOD, constraint, or inheritance. An inherited conflict is the first conflict kind that can be identified. The transmission of privileges from one role to another is referred to as inheritance. In some circumstances, this might lead to conflicts where a user has greater access than they should due to the inheritance of roles. There must be at least one exit role in order to identify an inheritance conflict. A role that is inherited from is known as an exit role. Checking whether the present entry position is senior to at least one departure role is important if there is an exit role. A potential conflict arises if the current entering role is superior than the exit role. A SOD constraint violation is the second kind of conflict that can be found. A rule known as the SOD restriction forbids users from holding multiple roles that could clash and allow for fraud or unauthorized access. There must be at least one exit role in order to be able to detect a SOD constraint violation. It is important to determine whether the present entry role and at least one departure role make a conflicting pair in order to spot a SOD constraint violation. A conflicting pair is a set of responsibilities that the SOD restriction prevents from being issued to the same user. Due to the complexity of access control systems and the quantity of roles and permissions that must be controlled, conflict detection in cloud security can be difficult. Nonetheless, there are numerous ways that can be employed to facilitate conflict detection. Using rule-based systems, which provide access control policies and rules, is one strategy. These systems can be set up to automatically detect conflicts by determining whether a specific role clashes with another position or whether a user has been given conflicting roles. The rule-based systems can also be set up to automatically perform corrective steps to block illegal access. Using machine learning techniques to find conflicts is another strategy. On the basis of previous data, machine learning algorithms can be trained to spot patterns and anomalies that could cause disputes. These algorithms can be used to identify conflicts in real time and take corrective action to block unwanted access once they have been trained. Finally, a crucial component of cloud security is conflict detection. It entails locating instances of security policy violations, such as conflicts with inheritance rules or the SOD constraint. Conflict detection can be difficult, but there are a number of methods that can be employed, including rule-based systems and machine learning algorithms. Unauthorized access can be avoided, and cloud security can be improved by identifying conflicts and taking appropriate action. Conflicts can lead to unwanted access and possible security breaches. Hence, conflict removal is a crucial component of access control in cloud security. In access control, inheritance conflicts and SOD constraint violations are two different forms of conflicts that might happen. We will go over strategies for resolving these conflicts in the context of cloud security in this response. When a person inherits a role from a parent domain that clashes with a role in the current domain, this is known as an inheritance conflict. For instance, a user may have a role in one department that gives them access to private financial information, but that access may be restricted by a role in another department. At least one departure role, or a role that is being left behind in the prior domain, is a need for the detection of inheritance conflicts. The present entrance role being senior to at least one exit role is a necessary requirement for inheritance conflict identification. Conflicts over inheritance can be resolved in 2 steps. It is first determined whether an exact matched role set already exists. If so, an I hierarchy, A hierarchy, and IA hierarchy hybrid role-based access control, RBAC hierarchy, can be used. An A relation between the exit role in the prior domain and the entry role in the present domain can take the place of the IA hierarchy. This method ensures that the access privileges provided in the previous domain are kept in the current domain. A virtual role can be added if there isn't a collection of roles that perfectly match each other. The conflicting roles are combined to form the virtual role, which gives the user a single role that has the permissions of both conflicting roles. With this strategy, the user will have access to all required resources without breaching the security policy. When a user is given access to 2 or more roles that compete with one another, such as the developer role and the administrator position, SOD constraint breaches arise. There must be at least one exit role in order to detect SOD constraint violations. The present entering role and at least one exit role must conflict with one another in order for this to be a sufficient condition. Using a conflict removal approach, SOD constraint violations can be resolved. The way this algorithm operates is by locating the responsibilities that conflict and eliminating one of them from the user's profile. This makes sure that the user can access just the roles that don't clash with one another. It might not always be easy to eliminate a competing job, though. In certain situations, the roles can be blended into a virtual role, which is a strategy similar to that employed to settle inheritance disputes. Finally, conflict identification and resolution are crucial components of access control in cloud security. If inheritance disputes and SOD constraint violations are not resolved, it may result in unauthorized access and security breaches. In order to effectively resolve these conflicts and uphold the security policy, the approaches covered above, such as hybrid hierarchies, virtual roles, and conflict elimination algorithms, are used. Organizations may make sure that their cloud infrastructure is secure and shielded against unauthorized access by putting these techniques into practice. Businesses shifted their IT infrastructure to the cloud with the introduction of cloud computing for better agility, scalability, and cost efficiency. As a result, the number of cloud service providers has rapidly increased, with each offering a different level of quality of service, QoS. The availability of numerous cloud service providers gives businesses additional alternatives, but it also presents a variety of security concerns that must be resolved to protect the interests of clients. The security issues that develop as a result of the rapid expansion of cloud services, the significance of service quality, the many client use cases and requirements, and the requirement for an intelligent broker to recommend the best cloud provider to the customer. Fast expansion of cloud services. Businesses are utilizing cloud services to get a competitive edge since they are expanding at an unprecedented rate. Offering a variety of services via the Internet, cloud computing includes infrastructure as a service, IaaS, platform as a service, PaaS, and software as a service, SaaS. As a result, cloud services have evolved into the foundation of contemporary companies, enabling them to store, handle, and analyze data at scale. Yet, due to the rapid expansion of cloud services, organizations now confront a number of security issues that must be resolved. Data breaches, cyber attacks, and compliance problems are a few of these difficulties. Many suppliers with different QoS. Businesses find it difficult to select the best cloud service provider due to the abundance of available options. Businesses must carefully assess the capabilities of each provider to make sure that they can satisfy their unique needs given the varied QoS levels. Performance, availability, security, and reliability characteristics of a cloud provider can be used to describe its QoS. The QoS of cloud providers can be unclear, which can result in subpar service delivery, which can cause business disruptions, data breaches, and financial losses. Many client use case types. Depending on their use cases, businesses have varying needs for their cloud services. For scientific applications, some firms need high-performance computing, while others may need dependable storage for data backup and disaster recovery. Some firms could need cloud services that abide by sector rules, as those in the healthcare or finance sectors. Companies must choose cloud service providers that can accommodate their unique needs or risk performance and compliance difficulties. An intelligent broker is required. It can be difficult for organizations to choose the best cloud service given the wide range of options. By analyzing their needs and matching them to the best providers, an intelligent broker can assist businesses in choosing the best cloud provider. A knowledgeable broker may also give organizations information on the most recent security risks and assist them in maintaining regulatory compliance. An intelligent broker can protect the interests of businesses and make sure they get the finest service by serving as a middleman between them and cloud providers. To protect the interests of enterprises, it is necessary to address the security issues that have arisen as a result of the rapid expansion of cloud services. Businesses must carefully assess the capabilities of each provider to make sure that they can satisfy their unique needs given the varied QoS levels. Depending on their use cases, businesses have varied criteria for their cloud services, and they must choose cloud providers that adhere to those standards. By analyzing their needs and matching them to the best providers, an intelligent broker may assist organizations in choosing the best cloud provider. An intelligent broker can protect the interests of businesses and make sure they get the finest service by serving as a middleman between them and cloud providers. There are many different cloud service providers available to enterprises, and the market for cloud computing is growing quickly. Yet, choosing the best service is a difficult task. There are several quality of service, QoS, security, and compliance requirements offered by various companies. Additionally, when companies move their apps and data to the cloud, they must make sure that their service providers are dependable and trustworthy. In this post, we'll go over 3 crucial parts of cloud security: choosing a trustworthy provider, determining how satisfied a provider is with their service level agreement, SLA, and using decision-making tools for dynamic service migration based on expert QoS. Selection of the most suitable provider satisfying customers' QoS requirements. Businesses need to determine their QoS needs before choosing a cloud service provider. How well a service satisfies user needs is gauged by its quality of service, QoS. It takes into account elements like accessibility, responsiveness, throughput, and dependability. Businesses must assess providers' QoS levels and compare them to their needs in order to choose an appropriate supplier. Companies can evaluate the quality of the service by looking at service-level agreements, measuring provider performance indicators, or looking at customer reviews. Businesses can make sure that their apps and data are delivered with the necessary level of performance and reliability by choosing a provider that complies with their QoS standards. Calculation of the degree of SLA satisfaction and trustworthiness of a provider. A contract defining the service level that must be provided by the cloud service provider, and the client is known as the SLA. The SLA details the provider's performance metrics, accessibility, response times, and other elements that influence service quality. Businesses must determine the level of SLA satisfaction in order to verify that the provider satisfies the agreed-upon SLA. This can be accomplished by comparing the provider's performance data to the SLA specifications and computing the SLA deviation. Businesses have the option to either take corrective action or cancel the contract if the deviation rises above a particular threshold. Another important consideration when choosing a cloud service provider is trustworthiness. The level to which a provider is seen as dependable and trustworthy by its consumers is known as trustworthiness. Companies can assess a provider's dependability by looking at their security and compliance protocols, their standing in the market, and their prior results. Businesses may safeguard their applications and data from security risks and data breaches by choosing a reliable provider. Decision-making system for dynamic service migration based on experienced QoS. Moving apps and data between cloud service providers in order to improve QoS and cut costs is known as dynamic service migration. This is a complicated process that involves a system for making decisions that takes into account a number of variables, including cost, SLA compliance, and QoS levels. Companies can utilize decision-making tools to compare the performance indicators of different providers in real time and choose the one that offers the best QoS at the most affordable price. These systems can also take into account aspects like customer satisfaction, regulatory compliance, and the reliability of the service. Businesses can optimize their use of cloud services, cut expenses, and keep a high level of QoS by utilizing dynamic service migration. Businesses must carefully consider their options when choosing a cloud service provider, and it is crucial to assess each option according to its reliability and quality of service, QoS, standards. The sheer number of cloud providers and the various QoS levels they provide, however, make selecting the best one a difficult undertaking. In this post, we'll go through 4 alternative methods for choosing a cloud provider, including Cloud CMP, fuzzy provider selection mechanisms, frameworks with satisfaction indicators, and provider selection frameworks that include competence and dependability. Cloud CMP. Cloud CMP is a tool that assists consumers in choosing a cloud provider by comparing cloud providers based on the QoS they give. It offers a dashboard that allows users to compare the QoS measurements of different cloud providers. Also, the tool provides a cost comparison option to assist users in choosing a provider that gives the desired QoS levels at the most affordable price. Cloud CMP can assist companies in choosing a cloud provider that satisfies their QoS needs and lowers their cloud service expenses. The fuzzy provider selection mechanism is a method that takes into account the ambiguity of customer requirements. It compares the QoS values of different cloud providers and chooses the best one using fuzzy logic. A mathematical method called fuzzy logic can deal with data imprecision and uncertainty. The fuzzy provider selection technique compares providers to the user's fuzzy needs while evaluating providers according to their QoS levels. This strategy can assist enterprises in choosing a supplier that satisfies their ambiguous QoS requirements. Framework with a measure of satisfaction. And strategy that takes into account the user's pleasure with the provider's QoS levels is the framework with a measure of satisfaction. Based on customer feedback, it determines a measure of satisfaction and rates providers according to their degrees of QoS. The user's opinion of the provider's QoS levels and their entire experience with the provider are both considered in the satisfaction measurement. This strategy can assist companies in choosing a supplier that not only satisfies their QoS needs, but also offers a positive user experience. Provider selection framework that takes into account trustworthiness and competence. The provider selection framework that takes competence and dependability into consideration is a technique that takes the provider's competency and dependability into account in addition to their QoS levels. It assesses service providers based on their QoS levels, security precautions, adherence to legal requirements, and prior performance. The framework also takes into account the provider's standing in the marketplace and degree of service expertise. This strategy can assist companies in choosing a reliable provider who not only satisfies their QoS needs, but also offers a high level of security and compliance. Businesses must carefully consider their options when choosing a cloud provider, and it is crucial to assess each option according to its reliability and level of quality of service. Businesses can choose a cloud provider that satisfies their needs using one of the 4 different methods discussed in this article, including Cloud CMP, fuzzy provider selection mechanisms, frameworks with a measure of satisfaction, and provider selection frameworks that take competence and trustworthiness into account. These methods can assist companies in choosing a dependable supplier who offers a high level of security and compliance, meeting their ambiguous QoS needs, delivering an acceptable user experience, and lowering the expenses associated with cloud services. In general, organizations must be aware of these many methods for choosing a cloud provider in order to make the best choice possible. A crucial component of cloud security is quality of service, QoS characteristics, which allow consumers to confirm that their cloud service provider is fulfilling their needs. The performance and dependability of cloud services are gauged using QoS metrics, which change based on the unique requirements of each client. The many customer QoS factors and their importance in guaranteeing cloud security will be covered. One of the most important QoS factors for cloud security is availability. It speaks of the proportion of time that users of a cloud service can access it. Since it guarantees that users can access their data and apps whenever they need to, a high availability rate is often regarded as desirable. To maintain high availability, cloud service providers employ a variety of techniques, including redundant servers, load balancing, and automatic failover. To assure that their data is always accessible, customers should make sure that their cloud service provider includes a high level of availability in their service level agreement, SLA. Performance. Another crucial QoS factor for cloud security is performance. It speaks to how quickly and effectively cloud services operate. There are several other techniques to gauge performance, including throughput, latency, and response time. Clients should verify that the cloud service provider can achieve the necessary performance levels for their data and applications. In general, high performance levels are preferred since they guarantee that clients can rapidly and effectively access their data and apps. Scalability. For clients with dynamic workloads that change over time, scalability is a crucial QoS factor in cloud security. The term scalability describes a cloud service's capacity to manage growing workload needs without sacrificing performance or availability. Clients should confirm that their cloud service provider has the flexibility to scale up or down in response to changes in their workload. Several methods, including elastic load balancing and horizontal and vertical scaling, are employed by cloud service providers to assure scalability. Security. In terms of cloud security, security is possibly the most important QoS criteria. It describes the precautions a cloud service provider takes to guard against unauthorized access, theft, and loss of client data and applications. Consumers should confirm that the cloud service provider they choose has strong security protocols in place, including encryption, access controls, and monitoring. The General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, and the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard are two examples of pertinent regulatory requirements and certifications that customers should confirm their cloud service provider adheres with, PCI DSS. Support. Another crucial QoS factor for cloud security is support. It refers to the degree of assistance a cloud service provider provides to clients, including customer support and technical assistance. Clients should confirm that the cloud service provider they choose provides proper assistance, including quick response times and 24/7 availability. Consumers should confirm that their cloud service provider has a defined escalation process in place in the event of crises or technical problems. When it comes to cloud computing, choosing the right provider is essential to assuring the dependability, efficiency, and security of cloud-based services. Making the proper provider choice can be challenging given the number of companies offering comparable services. Yet, employing a fuzzy inference engine can make this process easier by allowing providers to be rated according to how well they meet the needs of the consumer. Selection of provider using fuzzy inference engine. A mathematical model called a fuzzy inference engine is used to make conclusions based on uncertain or insufficient data. Fuzzy logic can be employed in the context of cloud security to assess the dependability and quality of various cloud providers based on their efficiency, security, and reliability. To decide if a provider is appropriate for the needs of the client, the fuzzy inference engine makes use of a set of rules and membership functions. Input: QoS offered by a provider and its trustworthiness. When evaluating a cloud provider's suitability for a certain client, the quality of service, QoS, it offers is a crucial consideration. Many indicators, including as availability, dependability, latency, and throughput, can be used to gauge QoS. On the other hand, reliability refers to the provider's capacity to safeguard client information and guarantee the security of cloud-based services. Output: suitability of the provider for the customer. The fuzzy inference engine determines the provider's suitability for the consumer based on the input parameters. The result is a degree of membership, which illustrates how well the supplier satisfies the demands of the client. Higher membership providers are better suited to meet the needs of the client. Customer request is dispatched to provider with maximum suitability. Following the determination of the provider's suitability, the customer's request is delivered to the provider who meets the highest standards. This makes sure that the supplier with the highest level of membership satisfies the client's needs. Membership functions are built using user requirements. The degree of a provider's membership is determined in large part by membership functions. These calculations are made utilizing the requirements of the customer and are used to determine the provider's appropriateness. The membership features ought to be determined by impartial standards and ought to take into account client demands. Factors for security. Although fuzzy inference engines might make the process of choosing a provider easier, there are a number of security issues that must be taken into mind. Trustworthiness of providers. A key element in establishing a provider's suitability for a customer's needs is their level of trustworthiness. The security and privacy of the customer's data may be compromised by providers who do not have robust security measures in place. Based on their security certifications, adherence to security requirements, and prior performance, providers' reliability must be assessed. Security of the fuzzy inference engine algorithm. Maintaining the integrity and confidentiality of the customer's data depends heavily on the security of the fuzzy inference engine algorithm. The algorithm needs to be secured from unapproved use, tampering, or manipulation. To safeguard the customer's data, the algorithm's inputs and outputs should both be encrypted. Objectivity of membership functions. Membership functions should be based on objective criteria and should represent the customer's priorities. The membership functions should not be skewed towards any one provider or group of providers. Customers should be able to understand how their needs are being assessed, and the membership functions should be transparent. Secure data transmission. It is important to defend against interceptions and eavesdropping when sending customer information and provider suitability data. Secure cryptographic procedures should be used to encrypt data, and only authorized individuals should be able to access it. The case study explores how a fuzzy inference engine can be used in the context of the infrastructure as a service, IaaS, and software as a service, SaaS, marketplaces to enhance cloud security. The study compares the effectiveness of the fuzzy method compared to the standard CRISP broker technique in picking the best cloud service provider based on user criteria. In the simulation, 500 VM, virtual machine, or service requests are distributed across 10 different providers over the course of a year, and some providers experience performance degradation that follows a Gaussian distribution. The service level agreement, SLA, satisfaction level for SLI, is the output of the fuzzy inference engine, which accepts input as F1, F2, FL. If the degree of SLA satisfaction is below the threshold, then migration is necessary. In terms of average availability, bandwidth, and cost per VM per hour, the study contrasts the performance of the fuzzy broker strategy with that of the CRISP broker approach. The findings indicate that, although this may not always be the case, the fuzzy method performs better than the CRISP approach in terms of user requirements. Instead of requiring a yes or no decision followed by a low cost on those decisions, the CRISP broker, which uses an inference engine that uses fuzzy logic, better maps the customer need. The simulation is also used to evaluate the SaaS market, and comparable assessments are done of an instance's average response time and cost. When it comes to matching user requirements with provider options, the fuzzy method once more performs better than the CRISP broker approach. The primary contribution of the work is the use of a fuzzy inference engine to cloud security, which can enhance the selection of cloud services and better satisfy user needs. The success of the fuzzy technique in this study shows that it can be used to improve security and performance in other cloud computing scenarios. The study's weaknesses, however, are the evaluation's narrow scope and very small sample size. Consequently, additional study is necessary to confirm the efficacy of the fuzzy method in diverse cloud computing settings. Specification of flexibility in QoS requirements. A customer's capacity to specify and modify their QoS needs in accordance with their unique business requirements is referred to as flexibility in quality of service, QoS requirements, in the context of cloud security. For various workloads or applications, the customer may have varied needs, such as the need for high availability, low latency, or high bandwidth. Customers can customize their service level agreements, SLAs, to match their unique demands when QoS requirements are flexible, which can lead to more economical and successful cloud deployments. With dynamic QoS provisioning and monitoring systems, QoS requirements can be made more flexible. For instance, a cloud provider might provide a dashboard that enables clients to change their QoS requirements in real time in response to shifting business requirements. Additionally, the cloud provider may be able to dynamically modify QoS parameters in response to workload characteristics, like the volume of requests or the amount of data being processed with the aid of automation and machine learning. It's crucial to remember, though, that more QoS requirement flexibility might potentially pose security problems. For instance, a customer may be at risk for attacks or downtime if they set their QoS requirements too low. On the other hand, if companies make their QoS needs too high, they can spend more money than necessary or have a harder time scaling. To ensure that their QoS requirements are in line with their security and commercial goals, customers should collaborate closely with their cloud providers. Comparison against existing approaches on production workload. When it comes to cloud security, it's critical to evaluate how well current approaches perform on such workloads. This entails examining a cloud provider's security posture and their capacity to defend against known attacks and vulnerabilities. Using a standardized framework, such as the Cloud Controls Matrix, CCM, from the Cloud Security Alliance, CSA, which offers a set of controls and best practices for cloud security, is one method for evaluating cloud providers. Customers can learn more about a cloud provider's security capabilities and spot any weak spots by comparing them to the CCM. Using security tools and services provided by third parties to test the security of a cloud deployment is an alternative strategy. To discover and reduce security threats, this may entail the use of vulnerability scanners, penetration testing, or security information and event management, SEM, solutions. It's critical to assess the effectiveness of security controls on production workloads in addition to contrasting cloud providers. This can involve adopting security controls like encryption, access limits, and network segmentation, as well as performing regular security audits and penetration tests. Service classes for customers. Service classes describe the many levels of service that a cloud provider may deliver to clients based on their requirements and financial capabilities. Cloud service providers typically offer a variety of service classes, ranging from high-end, high-performance alternatives to low-cost, low-performance ones. Service classes may have an effect on a cloud deployment's security posture from the standpoint of cloud security. For instance, less expensive service classes might not provide the same level of security monitoring and controls as more expensive choices. Also, clients might have to give up some security in order to save money. Enable multi-factor authentication, MFA, for all users and root accounts. A crucial security strategy for protecting your AWS cloud environment is enabling multi-factor authentication, MFA, for all users and root accounts. MFA is a security feature that prevents users from accessing their AWS accounts or resources without providing two or more forms of authentication. A password or security token, such as a tangible object or smartphone app, is often used in conjunction with a one-time code or biometric verification, like a fingerprint or facial recognition, to accomplish this. You strengthen your Amazon environment security by requiring MFA for all users and root accounts. This makes it more challenging for attackers to access your resources without authorization, even if they have your login information stolen or guess correctly. MFA also aids in thwarting assaults that are frequently used to get around password-based authentication, such as phishing and brute force attacks. You should think about adopting MFA for other Amazon services and resources, like access to the AWS Management Console, the AWS API, and the AWS Virtual Private Cloud, VPC, in addition to enabling MFA for your AWS accounts. This makes it easier to make sure that MFA is used to secure all access to your AWS environment. The danger of illegal access to your Amazon environment and data can be considerably decreased by enabling MFA, which is a crucial security step. Any comprehensive cloud security strategy should include the implementation of this straightforward yet effective security measure. Use AWS Identity and Access Management, IAM, to control access to AWS resources. You can manage access to AWS resources using AWS Identity and Access Management, IAM, a crucial part of cloud security. In your Amazon environment, IAM offers a centralized mechanism to manage users, groups, and permissions. By using IAM, you may offer users and programs only the permissions they require to carry out their specified responsibilities by granting least privilege access to your resources. IAM offers a variety of security measures, such as access control. By creating and managing users, groups, and roles, IAM enables you to manage access to your Amazon resources. These entities can have their access to your resources restricted by permissions you provide them. Credential management. IAM offers a safe way to handle passwords and access keys for your Amazon resources. To reduce the danger of illegal access, you can rotate these credentials frequently. Integration with other AWS services. To offer a complete security solution for your AWS environment, IAM connects with other AWS services like Amazon S3 and AWS CloudTrail. Integration with other AWS services. To offer a complete security solution for your AWS environment, IAM connects with other AWS services like Amazon S3 and AWS CloudTrail. Fine-grained permissions. IAM enables you to give your resources more specific permissions. You may define the operations that a user or group is permitted to carry out on a certain resource, and you can even restrict access depending on factors like IP address or time of day. You may reduce the risk of unauthorized access and data breaches by using IAM to manage access to your Amazon resources. With the help of IAM, you may provide users and applications only the permissions necessary for carrying out the particular responsibilities they have been assigned. This helps to increase general security and decrease the attack surface of your AWS setup. Configure AWS security groups and network access control lists, NACLs, to limit inbound and outbound traffic. Two essential elements of network security in the Amazon cloud architecture are AWS security groups and network access control lists, NACLs. For your Amazon resources, AWS security groups function as a virtual firewall and manage traffic entering and leaving them. You can define rules that permit or forbid traffic depending on IP addresses, ports, and protocols, among other things. You can safeguard your resources from unauthorized access or attacks by setting security groups to make sure that only authorized traffic is permitted to access or exit your resources. Another network security measure that serves as a firewall for your Amazon Virtual Private Cloud is AWS NACLs, VPC. As NACLs don't keep track of the state of connections and instead evaluate each packet independently, they are stateless. You can create rules that allow or reject traffic based on the same criteria as security groups using NACLs to regulate inbound and outgoing traffic at the subnet level. You can restrict traffic entering and leaving your Amazon resources by setting up security groups and NACLs. This can verify compliance with security policies and rules while also protecting your resources from illegal access or attacks. Also, you can aid in preventing data exfiltration and unauthorized data transfers from your resources by restricting outbound traffic. Setting up security groups and NACLs is a crucial security precaution that can assist safeguard your AWS resources and guarantee compliance with security guidelines. You can minimize the attack surface of your environment and lower the risk of data breaches or unauthorized access by restricting inbound and outbound traffic to your resources. Use AWS config to assess compliance with security policies and identify any configuration drift. You can evaluate compliance with security standards and spot any configuration drift in your Amazon environment using the service known as AWS config. Config provides a thorough inventory of the resources and their configurations while continuously monitoring and recording the configurations of your AWS resources. By using AWS config, you can assess compliance with security policies. Amazon config offers a thorough inventory of your AWS resources and their configurations, enabling you to evaluate compliance with security regulations and spot any potential security risks. Amazon config rules can be used to set rules and policies that can be used to determine if resources abide by company-specific security standards or industry-recognized best practices. Identify configuration drift. AWS config notifies you if there is any configuration drift by comparing the configuration of your AWS resources as they currently are with the desired configuration. When modifications are made to a resource's configuration outside of the established change management process, configuration drift may result, which may lead to security vulnerabilities or compliance problems. Improved security posture. You may proactively discover and address any possible security risks by monitoring and evaluating the configurations of your Amazon resources with AWS config. This can help you enhance your overall security posture. Automate compliance. By starting automated remediation procedures when a resource transgresses a rule or policy, Amazon config can be used to automate compliance. By doing this, you can cut down on the time and work needed to maintain compliance with security standards and procedures. In conclusion, Amazon config is a potent tool for determining your AWS environment's configuration drift and determining compliance with security standards. You can enhance your overall security posture, automate compliance, lower the likelihood of security events, and violate compliance by utilizing Amazon config. Configure AWS Guard Duty to detect potential security threats in your AWS environment. AWS, a threat detection service called Guard Duty, constantly scans your AWS environment for potential security risks. Guard Duty analyses log data and network traffic using machine learning and other detection techniques to spot potential security problems, including unauthorized access attempts, malicious behavior, or data exfiltration. You may identify possible security threats in your Amazon environment and respond to them by setting AWS Guard Duty. This can assist you in preventing unwanted access, data breaches, and other security events on your AWS resources. The following are some of the main security advantages of AWS Guard Duty. Threat detection. Guard Duty analyses log data and network traffic in real time using machine learning and other detection techniques, enabling you to see possible security issues as soon as they arise. Actionable insights. Guard Duty offers actionable insights into security threats, providing thorough descriptions of the danger, its gravity, and suggested countermeasures. Integration with other AWS services. By integrating Guard Duty with other AWS services like CloudWatch and Lambda, you can automate responses to security concerns and swiftly address them. Scalability. Regardless of size or complexity, GuardDuty is a fully managed service that can scale to meet the needs of your AWS environment. You may actively monitor your Amazon environment for potential security risks and respond to them by configuring AWS GuardDuty. This can help you ensure compliance with security policies and laws while also protecting your resources from unwanted access, data breaches, and other security issues. Use AWS Config to assess compliance with security policies and identify any configuration drift. You can evaluate compliance with security standards and spot any configuration drift in your Amazon environment using the service known as AWS Config. Config provides a thorough inventory of the resources and their configurations while continuously monitoring and recording the configurations of your AWS resources. By using AWS Config, you can assess compliance with security policies. Amazon Config offers a thorough inventory of your AWS resources and their configurations, enabling you to evaluate compliance with security regulations and spot any potential security risks. Amazon Config rules can be used to set rules and policies that can be used to determine if resources abide by company-specific security standards or industry-recognized best practices. Identify configuration drift. AWS Config notifies you if there is any configuration drift by comparing the configuration of your AWS resources as they currently are with the desired configuration. When modifications are made to a resource's configuration outside of the established change management process, configuration drift may result, which may lead to security vulnerabilities or compliance problems. Improved security posture. You may proactively discover and address any possible security risks by monitoring and evaluating the configurations of your Amazon resources with AWS Config. This can help you enhance your overall security posture. Automate compliance. By starting automated remediation procedures when a resource transgresses a rule or policy, Amazon Config can be used to automate compliance. By doing this, you can cut down on the time and work needed to maintain compliance with security standards and procedures. In conclusion, Amazon Config is a potent tool for determining your AWS environment's configuration drift and determining compliance with security standards. You can enhance your overall security posture, automate compliance, lower the likelihood of security events, and violate compliance by utilizing Amazon Config. Use AWS Key Management Service, KMS, to encrypt data at rest and in transit. In order to encrypt data both at rest and in transit in your Amazon environment, you can establish and maintain encryption keys using the fully managed AWS Key Management Service, KMS. You can verify that sensitive data is encrypted in accordance with security policies and laws and that it is protected from unwanted access by using AWS KMS. The following are a few ways that Amazon KMS enhances cloud security. Encrypt data at rest. By letting you create and maintain encryption keys, Amazon KMS offers a simple and safe approach to encrypt data at rest. Data kept in Amazon S3 buckets, Amazon EBS volumes, Amazon RDS databases, and other AWS services can be encrypted with AWS KMS. Encrypt data in transit. AWS KMS enables you to employ secure transport protocols, such HTTPS and SSL/TLS, and secures the encryption keys used for these protocols, allowing you to encrypt data in transit. This may aid in preventing unauthorized access to data while it is being transmitted. Control access to encryption keys. Using IAM policies to designate which users and roles can access the keys, Amazon KMS enables you to restrict access to encryption keys. Moreover, you may audit key usage and find unwanted access attempts using Amazon KMS. Integrate with other AWS services. You can quickly encrypt data kept in these services thanks to the integration of AWS KMS with other AWS services including Amazon S3, Amazon RDS, and AWS Lambda. Regulation compliance. Amazon KMS offers industry-standard security framework compliance, including PCI DSS, HIPAA, and FedRAMP. You may be able to comply with legal requirements for data encryption by doing this. In conclusion, Amazon KMS is a strong tool for encrypting data in your AWS environment, both at rest and in transit. Using Amazon KMS, you may better your overall cloud security posture, prevent unwanted access to sensitive data, and adhere to security policies and regulations. Use AWS CloudFront and AWS Shield to protect against DDoS attacks. In order to help defend against distributed denial of service, DDoS attacks, which are a frequent kind of cyber attack that can impair the accessibility of web applications and services, Amazon Web Services offers AWS CloudFront and AWS Shield. The following describes how these services combine to enhance cloud security. Amazon CloudFront. To lessen latency and boost speed for consumers, AWS CloudFront is a content delivery network, CDN, that distributes material globally. Moreover, it offers DDoS defense by identifying and thwarting DDoS attacks at the edge, where they are detected before they can reach your origin servers. In order to defend against DDoS assaults, AWS CloudFront employs a variety of strategies, including rate restriction, IP blocking, and geolocation filtering. Amazon Shield. AWS Shield is a managed DDoS defense service that adds further defenses against DDoS assaults. At the network, transport, and application layers, it can automatically detect and mitigate DDoS attacks using both basic and sophisticated security. Amazon Shield and AWS CloudFront are integrated to offer enhanced security for online services and applications. By using AWS CloudFront and AWS Shield, you can improve availability. By defending against DDoS attacks, you can make sure that people can use your online apps and services even while they are under attack. Reduced latency. By distributing material closer to end users, AWS CloudFront helps minimize latency, which can enhance the functionality of web services and applications. Scale globally. By distributing content to edge locations worldwide, AWS CloudFront enables you to scale globally, which can assist users in various regions experience less latency and better performance. Simplify security. By automatically identifying and mitigating DDoS assaults, Amazon Shield and AWS CloudFront offer managed security services that simplify security for web applications and services. In conclusion, AWS CloudFront and AWS Shield offer strong capabilities for DDoS attack defense in your AWS environment. You may increase availability, decrease latency, scale globally, and streamline security for online applications and services by employing these services. Use AWS WAF, Web Application Firewall, to protect against web application attacks. Use AWS WAF, Web Application Firewall, to protect against web application attacks. You can shield your web apps from harmful traffic and enhance your overall cloud security posture by utilizing AWS WAF. The following are some methods in which AWS WAF enhances cloud security. Protect against web-based attacks. AWS WAF offers a collection of pre-configured rules that can be used to recognize and stop frequent web-based attacks, including SQL injection and XSS. Also, you can design unique rules that are tailored to your particular web apps. Monitor web traffic. Real-time web traffic monitoring is possible with AWS WF, and you can get notifications when potential attacks are found. You'll be able to spot attacks more easily and react more rapidly as a result. Integrate with other AWS services. You may safeguard web applications and APIs at the edge by integrating AWS WAF with other AWS services like Amazon CloudFront and Amazon API Gateway. Manage rules centrally. AWS WAF enables you to centrally manage rules and apply them to numerous web applications or APIs. This can make security administration easier to administer and lower the possibility of setup errors. Compliance with regulations. Amazon WAF offers industry-standard security frameworks including PCI DSS and HIPAA compliance. This might assist you in meeting legal standards for the security of web applications. In conclusion, AWS WAF is an effective solution for defending online applications in your AWS environment against web-based threats. You can monitor web traffic, detect and stop attacks, integrate with other AWS services, administer rules centrally, and adhere to legal requirements by utilizing AWS WAF. Regularly patch and update all AWS resources to ensure they are running the latest versions. An essential security best practice that can ensure your resources are running the most recent security patches and upgrades is routinely patching and updating all Amazon resources. Regularly patching and updating AWS resources can enhance cloud security in the following ways. Address security vulnerabilities. Software and systems are all susceptible to security flaws. Your Amazon resources may be regularly patched and updated to help address these vulnerabilities and lower the likelihood of a successful cyber attack. Improve system stability. System performance and stability can be improved through software patches and upgrades, which can lessen the likelihood of downtime or other disturbances. Compliance with regulations. To maintain the security of sensitive data, many standards like PCI DSS and HIPAA call for enterprises to routinely update and patch software. Patching and updating your AWS resources on a regular basis will help to ensure compliance with these rules. Stay up to date with emerging threats. Cyber threats are continuously changing. You can remain current on new threats and make sure you are protected against the most recent cyber attacks by routinely updating your AWS resources. Automatic updates are enabled by default for many Amazon services, and AWS regularly patches and updates its services. By utilizing these automatic updates, you can guarantee that the software and security fixes installed on your resources are up to date at all times. In conclusion, maintaining your AWS environment's security and stability may be achieved by routinely patching and updating all of its resources. You may strengthen your overall cloud security posture by addressing security vulnerabilities, enhancing system stability, adhering to regulations, maintaining current on new threats, and utilizing automatic updates. Use AWS Inspector to assess the security of your EC2 instances and applications. You may increase the security of your Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2 instances and applications by using the security evaluation function known as AWS Inspector. It offers a thorough collection of rules that are intended to find vulnerabilities and other potential security problems in your EC2 instances and apps. The following are some ways that AWS Inspector might enhance cloud security. Automate security assessments. Amazon Inspector can evaluate the security of your EC2 instances and apps automatically, eliminating the need for manual evaluations and enhancing the efficiency and accuracy of security evaluations. Identify security issues. Amazon Inspector may help you find security flaws in your EC2 instances and apps, such as vulnerabilities and incorrect setups, so you can fix them before an attacker can use them against you. Provide detailed reports. Amazon Inspector provides thorough reports on security evaluations that include information on found security flaws and suggestions for fixing them. Integrate with other Amazon services. You can automate the correction of found security concerns by integrating AWS Inspector with other AWS services like AWS Security Hub and AWS Systems Manager. An effective tool for enhancing the security of your EC2 instances and apps is Amazon Inspector, to sum up. Amazon Inspector may assist you in strengthening your overall cloud security posture by automating security assessments, finding security concerns, delivering thorough reports, integrating with other AWS services, and enabling compliance with security standards. Monitor and analyze AWS CloudWatch logs to detect and respond to security incidents. EC2 instances, Lambda functions, and many other AWS services can all produce logs, which can be monitored and analyzed using AWS CloudWatch, a monitoring and logging tool offered by AWS. You may identify and address security incidents in your Amazon environment by watching and examining AWS CloudWatch logs. The following are some ways that AWS CloudWatch logs might enhance cloud security. Detect security incidents. Security incidents, such as illegal access attempts or modifications to security configurations, can be found using AWS CloudWatch logs. Analyze log data. To find trends and anomalies that can point to a security event, AWS CloudWatch logs can be examined using a variety of tools and techniques, including data mining and machine learning. Generate alerts. Alerts can be configured to be generated by AWS CloudWatch logs in response to specific events, such as when a user tries to access a resource they are not permitted to use. Collect audit logs. You can use AWS CloudWatch logs to gather audit logs for compliance needs, enabling you to show compliance with legal standards. Respond to incidents. You may promptly and efficiently deal with security incidents, reducing their negative effects on your Amazon environment by watching and examining AWS CloudWatch logs. In conclusion, keeping an eye on and studying AWS CloudWatch logs is a crucial security best practice that can assist you in identifying and handling security problems in your AWS environment. You may strengthen your overall cloud security posture by identifying security incidents, reviewing log data, producing alerts, gathering audit logs, and responding to events. Use AWS organizations to manage multiple AWS accounts and centralize security policies. Amazon Organizations is a solution that enables you to manage many AWS accounts from a single location. By centralizing security settings across all of your AWS accounts, you may strengthen cloud security by using Amazon Organizations. The following are a few ways AWS companies can enhance cloud security. Centralize security policies. With Amazon Organizations, you can impose uniform security policies across all of your AWS accounts, ensuring that every account complies with your company's security standards. Simplify account management. Amazon Organizations makes account management easier by giving you access to a single dashboard where you can manage all of your AWS accounts, including controlling account access and keeping track of consumption and prices. Automate security policies. Using AWS Organizations, you can automatically apply security policies to each and every one of your AWS accounts. This lowers the possibility of manual errors and guarantees that each account is set up to satisfy the security criteria of your company. Enforce compliance. Amazon Organizations gives you the ability to make sure that security standards and rules are followed across all of your AWS accounts, reducing the risk of security breaches and ensuring that your company complies with legal obligations. Simplify billing and payments. By allowing you to unify billing across all of your AWS accounts, AWS Organizations makes it simpler to manage costs and keep track of consumption. As a result of centralizing security policies, streamlining account management, automating security policies, enforcing compliance, and streamlining billing and payments, Amazon Organizations is a potent tool for enhancing cloud security. You may enhance your entire cloud security posture and lower the risk of security breaches by utilizing AWS Organizations to manage numerous AWS accounts. Use AWS Secrets Manager to store and rotate secrets, such as API keys and passwords. You can securely store and manage secrets, such as API keys and passwords, using AWS Secrets Manager, a tool offered by AWS. You can enhance cloud security in the following ways with Amazon Secrets Manager. Secure storage of secrets. AWS. Secrets are stored securely thanks to Amazon Secrets Manager, which offers an encrypted storage method for private data like API keys and passwords. This lowers the possibility of illegal access to the data. Automated secret rotation. Secret rotation that is automated. AWS Secrets Manager may rotate passwords and API keys automatically on a schedule or in reaction to certain circumstances, lowering the risk of unwanted access caused by a compromised secret. Fine-grained access control. Control of access to secrets at a finer level is possible with Amazon Secrets Manager, allowing you to limit access to sensitive data to only those people or apps who need it. Integration with AWS services. AWS Secrets. Manager interfaces with several AWS services, including Amazon RDS and Amazon Redshift, enabling you to conveniently manage the secrets used by these services and lowering the risk of security breaches brought on by improperly set secrets. Auditing and logging. Amazon Secrets. Management has auditing and logging features that let you keep track of who has access to secrets and keep an eye out for unusual activities. In conclusion, AWS Secrets Manager is a crucial tool for enhancing cloud security since it offers a safe and automated approach to manage secrets like API keys and passwords. Using AWS Secrets Manager, you can automate secret rotation, lower the risk of unauthorized access to critical data, fine-tune access controls for secrets, link with other AWS services, and keep an eye out for unusual activities. Use AWS S3 bucket policies and ACLs to control access to S3 buckets and objects. Bucket policies and access control lists are the two primary AWS tools for limiting access to S3 buckets and objects, ACLs. Bucket policies. The rights for the bucket and associated objects are specified through bucket policies, which are JSON documents. They can be used to limit who has access to a bucket, what they can do with its contents, and from which IP addresses they can access it. They are applied at the bucket level. You can set up controls to guarantee that only approved users or programs can access the S3 bucket and its contents by utilizing bucket policies. Access control lists, ACLs. ACLs are used to specify the access permissions for specific objects within a bucket. They can be combined with bucket policies to offer granular access control and are used to give or restrict access to particular items. ACLs can be used to limit access to particular users or groups and to define the kind of access, such as read-only or write-only, that they have. The following ways that AWS S3 bucket policies and ACLs might enhance cloud security. Restrict access. To lower the risk of unwanted access to sensitive data, you can limit access to S3 buckets and objects to only approved users or applications. Granular access control. You can decide who has access to particular files or folders within the bucket by defining granular access control for individual objects. Compliance. You can make sure that your S3 buckets comply with legal requirements and accepted best practices for data security by utilizing bucket policies and ACLs. Logging. You can log access to S3 buckets and objects using S3 bucket policies and ACLs, giving you a thorough audit trail of who accessed the bucket and when. For securing access to S3 buckets and objects, AWS S3 bucket policies and ACLs are crucial tools. You may restrict access to your S3 data using these technologies, offer granular access control, guarantee compliance with legal requirements, and keep track of who has access to your S3 buckets and objects. Use AWS VPC flow logs to monitor network traffic in your VPCs. You can launch Amazon Web Services, AWS resources into a designated virtual network using the Amazon Virtual Private Cloud, VPC service. A component of AWS VPC called VPC flow logs records data about IP traffic to and from network interfaces inside a VPC. The source and destination IP addresses, protocols, and ports utilized in your VPC's network traffic are all detailed in the AWS VPC flow logs. This data can be utilized to identify and look into potential security problems like malware infections, unwanted access attempts, and data espionage. You can increase cloud security in the following ways by using AWS VPC flow logs. Network visibility. VPC flow logs give you insight into the network activity occurring inside your VPC, enabling you to keep an eye on it and look for possible security risks. Security monitoring. Monitoring for security problems, such as attempted intrusions and data espionage, is possible using VPC flow logs. Compliance. Regulatory compliance and industry best practices for network security can both be verified using VPC traffic logs. Troubleshooting. Network connectivity problems can be investigated using VPC flow logs, which can offer useful details about the origin and destination of network traffic. In conclusion, AWS VPC flow logs are a crucial tool for keeping track of network activity within your VPCs and enhancing cloud security. You can identify potential security problems, confirm regulatory compliance, and fix network connectivity difficulties by examining VPC traffic logs. Use AWS Systems Manager to automate patching and updates across your AWS resources. AWS Systems Manager is a management solution that makes it easy to create system images, install OS updates, gather software inventories, and customize Windows and Linux operating systems. You may automate the patching and updating of your Amazon resources by utilizing AWS Systems Manager, which enhances cloud security in a number of ways. Reduced patching time. Using Amazon Systems Manager to automate the patching and updating process can cut the amount of time it takes to patch your AWS resources. This lowers the possibility of a successful cyber attack by ensuring that security flaws are swiftly fixed. Consistency. Amazon Systems Manager aids in ensuring consistency in the application of patches and updates across all AWS resources. This reduces configuration drift, which can create security holes and raise the possibility of a security breach. Compliance. By automatically installing patches and upgrades in accordance with a set schedule, Amazon Systems Manager can assist you in maintaining compliance with security policies and legal requirements. Improved visibility. Amazon Systems Management offers a centralized view of the patching and updating process, giving you visibility into the status of all AWS resources. This improves visibility. This enables you to spot possible security problems and act swiftly to address them. An essential tool for automating the patching and updating of your Amazon resources is AWS Systems Management, to sum up. By speeding up the patching process, guaranteeing consistency, upholding compliance, and enhancing visibility, AWS Systems Manager may help you increase cloud security. Use AWS Certificate Manager to manage and renew SSL/TLS certificates for your websites and applications. For usage with AWS services and resources, SSL/TLS certificates can be quickly provisioned, managed, and deployed using the AWS Certificate Manager service. You may increase cloud security in a number of ways by using AWS Certificate Manager to manage and renew SSL/TLS certificates for your websites and applications. Strong encryption. SSL/TLS certificates offer strong encryption for data in transit, preventing unauthorized access and interception of sensitive data. Certificate management. AWS. Certificate Manager automates the acquisition and renewal of SSL/TLS certificates, assisting in keeping certificates current and defending your websites and applications from security flaws. Simplified deployment. Deploy SSL/TLS certificates across your whole infrastructure with ease thanks to AWS Certificate Manager's integration with AWS services and resources. This assists in ensuring that all resources are adequately protected and that there are no security gaps. Cost-effective. By offering SSL/TLS certificates at no extra charge, AWS Certificate Manager lowers the total cost of ownership for SSL/TLS certificate administration. Improved visibility. AWS Certificate Management offers a centralized view of all SSL/TLS certificates, allowing you to see when each certificate expires and its current status. This enables you to manage certificates proactively and keep your websites and applications operating normally. For maintaining SSL/TLS certificates and enhancing cloud security, AWS Certificate Manager is a crucial tool. You can assure reliable encryption, automate certificate administration, streamline deployment, cut expenses, and gain better visibility into the SSL/TLS certificate status by utilizing AWS Certificate Management. Configure AWS SNS, Simple Notification Service, and Lambda functions to automatically respond to security events. The messaging service Amazon SNS, Simple Notification Service, enables you to send alerts from the cloud to a variety of endpoints, including email, SMS, and mobile push notifications. The serverless computing solution, Amazon Lambda, enables you to execute code in response to events. You can automatically react to security events and take action to reduce potential security concerns by configuring AWS SNS and Lambda services. To increase cloud security, use AWS SNS and Lambda functions in the following ways. Automatic alerting. You may set up AWS SNS to notify the appropriate teams or people automatically when security events like unauthorized access attempts, data breaches, or configuration changes take place. These notifications, which might include event information and suggested actions, can be sent via email, SMS, or mobile push notifications. Automatic incident response. You can utilize Amazon Lambda functions to instantly react to security incidents by blocking IP addresses, quarantining affected services, or deactivating compromised user accounts. You may take these steps in response to security problems fast and effectively, since SNS notifications can trigger them. Custom security workflows. To automate security-related processes like distributing security patches or setting access controls, you can design custom workflows using Amazon Lambda functions. These workflows can be started by SNS notifications, enabling you to quickly and automatically react to security events. Compliance monitoring. Monitoring compliance with security standards and laws, such as PCI DSS or HIPAA, is possible using AWS SNS and Lambda services. An SNS notification of a compliance violation may cause a Lambda function to take corrective action or alert the appropriate teams. In conclusion, setting up AWS SNS and Lambda functions can enhance compliance monitoring, automate security incident response, and enable unique security workflows. By utilizing these AWS services, you may enhance cloud security and swiftly and automatically react to security events. Implement AWS Backup to regularly backup and recover your data and resources. You can centralize and automate the backup of your AWS resources, such as Amazon EBS volumes, RDS databases, DynamoDB tables, and EFS file systems, with AWS Backup, a fully managed backup solution. A key component of cloud security is the ability to protect your data and resources from unintentional deletion, data corruption, and other data loss scenarios by using Amazon Backup. Here are some major advantages of utilizing AWS Backup to raise cloud security. Automatic backup scheduling. Amazon Backup gives you the option to create backup schedules for your resources that can be daily, weekly, or monthly, making sure that your data is constantly backed up to current. Centralized backup management. With Amazon Backup, you can manage and monitor your backups across various AWS accounts and regions from a single interface, making it simple to manage backup policies and retention schedules. Data encryption. Using industry-standard encryption protocols, Amazon Backup encrypts your backup data while it is in transit and at rest, adding an extra degree of security for your critical information. Rapid data recovery. In the case of a data loss, Amazon Backup enables you to quickly restore your data and resources, minimizing downtime and guaranteeing business continuity. In conclusion, using Amazon Backup will enable you to automate backup schedules, manage backup rules centrally, encrypt your data, recover it quickly in the event of a data loss, and enhance compliance and governance. These advantages might assist you in strengthening your cloud security posture and safeguarding your vital business information and resources.